We are good? Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. We'll start our meeting. I'm Mayor Lawrence Rael, and I am calling the Tuesday, June 16th, 2026 meeting to order. The time is approximately 6:01. This meeting is streamed on the village website. The public can also.
Hang on.
We'll start our meeting. I'm Mayor Lawrence Rael, and
Uh,
I got an
it
echo.
still is.
Are we ready to go?
Yes.
All right, this meeting is, I can start all over. The meeting is streamed on the village website. The public can also participate via Zoom. Instructions and overall public participation guidance is listed on the website and on page 4 of the meeting packet. I will now defer to our clerk for additional instructions.
Thank you, Mayor. The Village of Los Ranchos is providing the ability for the public to participate in hybrid meetings. As with any application, digital service, or software, the opportunity for failure can occur. Therefore, the village is not responsible for the inability to connect to the meeting either by Zoom or viewing via live stream. The meeting is being recorded and will be available online after the meeting on the village website.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Baldwin.
Here.
Trustee Edward.
Here.
Trustee Kiefer.
Here.
Trustee Reinell.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Very good, thank you so much. Now, if you all could stand, Luke from Troop 9 is going to present the colors this evening for us. And please join us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Luke. I just want to say one comment about Troop 9. I think like a lot of kids that grew up in the village, my son is an Eagle Scout from Troop 9, and it's been a troop that's been in part of the village in the North Valley for a long time. Unfortunately, the troop is, as anything else in life, they've lost a lot of, well, I shouldn't say lost, they've graduated a lot of scouts, and so the troop is really down to a very few scouts. And so for those parents who might be listening either to this meeting and or to all of you in the audience, if you know any young folks that want to join the troop, and especially parents that would like to participate, the troop needs a minimum of 4 adults to be part of the, if you will, committee that manages the troop. And obviously, as many scouts as we can get into the troop would be great. It's an opportunity, I think, for a great, wholesome upbringing of our kids in our communities, and of course, the village is very supportive with providing them a place to gather and support their work. So anyway, I want to just thank the troop and their scout leader here today for their efforts throughout the years, and also just encourage all of us as folks in the community, if we know of any children that might be interested in joining the troop, please have them even call us here at the Village Hall, and we'll direct them to the proper folks and see if we can't keep this troop continuing to operate in the North Valley, and especially here in the Village of Los Ranchos. Luke, thank you so much for being here tonight, to you all. Thank you so much. All right, we'll go now to our next order of business, which is the general public comment. Only those participants who signed up prior to the meeting can speak on topics that do not appear on the agenda under public comment and will be given 3 minutes to speak. To be fair to others waiting to speak, a timekeeper will make an announcement when the allotted time is up. Therefore, it is important to keep your comments short and plan on making your point as quickly as possible. No action can occur on these items. If you have questions, please feel free to contact staff during business hours. Madam Clerk, would you please proceed to calling up the individuals that have signed up under general public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. Before we begin general public comment, please note that comments on any active planning or zoning applications or applications still within their appeal period are not permitted. These items are or may become quasi-judicial and can only be discussed through the formal hearing process to ensure fairness and due process. The Director of Planning and Zoning may interrupt public comment to advise the speaker if their remarks fall within a quasi-judicial case. With that, we're going to call up our first individual. I have Ms. Rosemary Gallegos Chavez. If you would, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Rael and the members of the board. My name is Rosemary Gallegos Chavez. I live at 6635 Elwood Drive Northwest, located off Osuna between 2nd and 4th Street. Paul and I have been residents of the village for 48 years. My husband Paul has historical ties to the Chavez family. We all have a vested interest in keeping our village peaceful. I'm reaching out to the Board of Trustees as a, is it too high? Okay. I am reaching out to the Board of Trustees as a Greenwood neighborhood resident. I am expressing a growing concern about the safety, appearance, and sanitation at the entrance to our neighborhood. Specifically, there have been a noticeable increase in unhoused individuals living on the bike pedestrian path along 2nd Street between Osuna and Green Valley. Also, there are concerning activities centered at the corner house on 6602 Elwood Street Northwest. The bike pedestrian trail on 2nd Street between Osuna and Green Valley has seen a significant rise in unhoused encampments. While we recognize the broader complexities of homelessness in Albuquerque, these unauthorized campsites are creating immediate challenges for our neighborhood. Neighbors are reporting issues with trash, accumulation, sanitation issues. There are no public restrooms, and we really don't want any set up out there. And fire hazards. All of this presents serious risks to both the residents and the unhoused. Additionally, disturbing activities are taking place at the property located at 6602 Edgewood Street Northwest. It is unclear if the home has sold or not. The real estate agent who handled the sale claims those entering the house are doing so illegally. We urge the Village of Los Ranchos and anyone who can help to take immediate and proactive steps to address these issues, but we want you to do more. We are hoping that a demonstration of a united neighborhood will encourage you to work in good faith. We have at least 15 people here. We are submitting a package to the village, to the Bernalillo County Sheriff, Albuquerque Metro, the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy. We are requesting the agency listed above to provide a plan of action for the list below. Forward your path forward to the following so we can update the Greenwood residents of your intentions to assist our neighborhood located in the village of Los Ranchos. Loitering at the entrance to the east side of the village and to the entrance of the Greenwood neighborhood. Unhoused homeless east side of the village of Los Ranchos and entrance to the Greenwood neighborhood, primarily between the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy bike trail, homeowners' properties along the path, and between Osuna and Green Valley. The home located at the 6602 Elwood has become a nuisance. The property is in disarray with clutter and trash, possible squatting and illegal activity due to the increase of questionable visitors and traffic. We hope that you will, in good faith, help our neighborhood stop this tragedy of happening to the village. We moved here to have peace and quiet and a lovely neighborhood to live in, and it's not turning out to be that way.
The speaker's time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Teresa Rael.
As Ms. Rael comes up to the speaker, I just want to let that neighborhood know that I did take a drive by there last week, and I've asked the sheriff's officers and others to come together to have a conversation about what we might be able to do, because I had heard the same stories you just represented to me. So thank you so much for being here.
Teresa Rael, 1005 El Alhambra Circle, Los Ranchos. I just want people to mark their calendars for National Night Out this year, Tuesday, August 4th, 6:30 p.m. Village staff and some community volunteers helped organize a community event at the Alfredo Garcia Barn at Hartnett Park for all village residents. National Night Out is dedicated to building safer, more caring communities by providing an opportunity to strengthen relationships with your neighbors, local law enforcement, and community leaders. More details will follow at the next Board of Trustees meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Ms. Julie Gerwoda, if you would, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Yes. My family and I have been resident property owners at 6629 Elwood for 31 years. Until 10 years ago, it was a safe, quiet, U-shaped neighborhood with 75 single-family homes. Since then, however, things have begun to change for the worse. It appears that about 5 homeowners have vacated their properties, and even though they were previously zoned to single-family dwellings, they have turned their homes into rentals for multiple families or people. Without regular upkeep, these properties have been allowed to deteriorate and become unsafe, and I will speak about 2 of those properties. The property situation at 6602 that Rosemary just discussed is on the corner of Osuna and Elwood, and it's been festering for the past few years with broken down property fences, an exterior that has been poorly maintained, and trash buildup in the yard. The village has visited that owner several times, and we understand that he recently vacated the premises, but there are still several people living in the house. For the past 2 to 3 years, there were often people living in and out of their cars in his driveway or on the street in front of the house. The present occupants seem to have a parade of visitors and vehicles at many hours during the day and night. This property backs up on the 2nd Street ditch where some of the unhoused people are also living. We've been told that the people in the house are squatters. The other marginal property is across the street and 1 house north. It's presently unoccupied. It too had an absent owner who had multiple renters at once, although it was supposed to be a single-family residence. 2 years ago, a large coyote family built a den in the backyard and posted a definite safety hazard to the people in the house, the neighbors, the neighborhood, and their pets. The previous owner denied the existence and allowed the property to continue to deteriorate with overgrowth and trash. Finally, the property owner emptied the house, pulled down the falling down outbuilding in the backyard where the coyotes lived, and put the house on the market. The new owners have marginally cleaned it up, but we understand they plan to rent it out after the floors in the house are replaced because of a year's worth of damage done by a leaky swamp cooler and black mold. The resident also has an unsecured backyard that we're concerned, and also that it would also provide a place for unhoused people to camp once they realize it. The influx of unhoused people in our neighborhood and 2 very distressed properties are really problematic for our little neighborhood and the village. Many of us were hopeful when, in our input, the village built a lovely little park. It's on the corner of Osuna and Edgewood, and it's only 2 blocks west of that intersection of 2nd Street and Osuna. This is the gateway to the village from the east. But as the visitors drive west, their first impressions is not the beauty of the park and the village. They see a line of unhoused people along the newly landscaped ditch walk and a very
The speaker's
distressed
time has expired.
residence on the corner. Thank you for your time. I'm asking that these comments be added to the records of the meeting. Thank you.
Jason Bueller, if you would.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Bulow. I'm the former Scoutmaster for Troop 9. So Troop 9 this is the 66th year that we've been chartered consistently. We do meet every week, every Wednesday from 7 to 8. We would really love to keep this going if there's any way possible. The scouts that we're looking for the older scouts are between 6th grade to 18, so they graduate. We've had tons of fun. 2 summers ago, we did Philmont, did 36 miles in 5 days backcountry. Last summer, we did sea base, went out to Florida, lived a week on the boat, got to fish and scuba dive and snorkel and stuff. And just had lots of great experiences. So if there's anyone that can send us kids our way, we'd really appreciate it. So we're teetering, we're right at the very edge right now. We need more families, basically. Luke's gonna eagle out here in the next month. So we're just about finished with our part of it. But we've been coming here since he was 8. We started in Pack 8 and been consistently doing stuff with the village. Love to come out in August with the guys and do stuff if we're still around. We've helped out several times. We organized a stargazing night for the village, trying to recruit earlier this year and stuff. So just really appreciate all your support, and if it works out, we'd love to keep it going. If it doesn't, we appreciate everything you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Denny Starner?
Hello, my name is Dennis Starner. I go by Denny. I live at 521 Chavez Road. A couple years ago, I came in here. I can't remember if it was this meeting or a planning and zoning meeting, but raised concerns around the traffic speed on Chavez. And then got a really great response. Took about a couple years, and we finally did some mitigation and put speed humps up. And it was a lot easier to get in and out of the driveway without getting hit. Now a couple of them have disappeared. I've looked around to see what went on with them, or try to read about why they disappeared. And those are only 2, and they're in the quarter mile, I call it, between 4th Street and Guadalupe Trail, which I call AKA Los Ranchos Motor Speedway. I'm just trying to reach out and try to figure out what went on. I try to watch all the meetings. I haven't heard anybody talk about it or anything. And just kind of curious why we spent money to put speed humps to reduce the speed. And then we removed, well, only 2 of them, because there's several others that are still out there. So just kind of curious and baffled. And I came back probably in January of this year to thank everybody for the efforts in getting us some mitigation on the traffic speed. So I guess I'm back today to retract my thank you because the speed is back and Los Ranchos Motor Speedway is open once again. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Joe Sloan?
Good evening, Mayor Rael and board members. I am Joe Sloan. I live at 6660 Edgewood Drive Northwest, and I have lived there since 1987. I have seen a lot of changes to our lovely, quiet neighborhood. With the Paladone Housing Project, we have now experienced a huge increase in traffic. And this traffic is both cars and foot traffic that moves between 2nd and 4th and is constantly on the move. We have a very difficult time getting in and out of our neighborhood. We can't turn right, we can't turn left. And if you're trying to turn into our neighborhood, it is very, very dangerous because people don't want to stop on Osuna and they try to pass you, and we do not have enough space in that traffic area. But tonight I'm here about another really terrible problem, and that is the unhoused and the squatting problem in our neighborhood. We were annexed into the neighborhood, into the village, and we were told that we were going to be the beautiful entrance to Los Ranchos. And I feel like at a lot of times that we're the stepchild of Los Ranchos. We are not Guadalupe Trail, we are not Rio Grande, we are Elwood and Edgewood. And I feel like that we really need the Board of Trustees and the mayor to listen to us about our unhoused problem. We also have the squatting problem that's going on at 6602 Elwood. And I'm hoping that the village is able to intervene quickly on the unhoused problem and the squatting problem, because I know from owning a business in downtown Albuquerque is if you don't pay attention to it, it continues to grow. I know that it's a very complex and difficult problem, but I'm asking tonight that the village please intervene on the homeless, the unhoused problem, and the squatting problem. And I want to thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vincent Sanchez?
Good evening. Vincent Sanchez, 6802 Rio Grande. I want to speak about being a participating member of the public, not being heard and actively dismissed. On April 23rd, I faced a safety issue affecting my irrigation system. I called the village code enforcement to report that safety hazard and request an on-site inspection. When he arrived, he declined to investigate my safety concern and dismissed them as MRGCD's problem. He instead asked what village ordinances were being violated. Deep in mud, I pointed out to the unpermitted fences and housing constructed within the 25-foot setback next to us. With shrugged shoulders, he said, "It's already there. I can't do anything." He proceeded to turn around and leave. At that point, in frustration, my response to him was rude, unproductive, and for that, I want to publicly apologize for how I spoke to him. Forrest, I was rude to you, and I'm sorry. But not all are as dismissive as those people, and for those people, I thank you. Public participation and being heard is an important part of small government. Being dismissed in this hall is extremely undermining to the public. Last week's P&Z meeting was another example of this. When a topic was deferred, a sign-up sheet was left out to sign on, but it was, and I signed up for it. I deliberately abbreviated my statement on the matter because of it. We all should be aware just because there is a request to defer does not mean deferment is guaranteed. I was there that day to make a public statement. People take the time to write something, fight, nervousness, sign up, and speak about a topic. It is not fair to the participating public because the future date is not guaranteed to the speaker, and their voice has the right to be recorded and heard the day they signed up. I'm going to paraphrase the reasons given by the Commissioner Homan. We need to have a more complete record. It just makes it cleaner to have it all in one place. This is nonsense. The subjective reasoning, otherwise, an issue could not be tabled from one session to the next because the comment would be from the previous session. As a singular instance, it is reasonable to think I'm making a big deal of this. However, it is not even the only time that session that she dismissed me. I signed up for TA 2601 and was not called to speak for the second time. If this sounds like bad luck on my part, you could be right. But I've been dismissed by Commissioner Homan many times. She has forgotten to call on me to speak several times in the past and has failed to follow up on my concerns as she requested me to be on an agenda that she requested in January of 2025. I never heard anything back. In fact, I've narrowed down one of her past P&Z dismissals of my concerns as the beginning to my ditch issue that a lot of my issues stem from. I don't know what issues she has against me and my family, but at this point, and the number of times I've been ignored,
The speaker's
I
time
have
has
concerns
expired.
about her personal bias and ability as commissioner with a crowd of one person wanting to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and trustees, with that concludes public comment for this evening.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the members of the public for coming this evening. We appreciate the input and the opportunity to hear your concerns, and we certainly are going to look at the issues that you all raised and try and do some things and work with our public safety folks to deal with those issues. So thank you so much. With that being said, we're on item number 5, which is a proclamation. This month is Pride Month, and we have a proclamation. Go to our clerk to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque Proclamation, Pride Month, June 2026. Whereas the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque is a welcoming community and dedicated to the residents we serve. And whereas Pride Month is celebrated in the month of June to honor the 1969 Stonewall riots in New York City. Dedicated to celebrating around the country educational awareness for events celebrating diversity and to commemorate the Stonewall riots. Patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn staged an uprising to resist the police harassment and persecution to which LGBT Americans were commonly subjected. Whereas, due in no small part to the determination and dedication, more Americans are living their lives openly today than ever before. The rights movement has achieved great progress, but there is more work to be done. Whereas the promise of equality for all remains unfulfilled if we can work together to advance the principles upon which our nation was founded and is guided by that each has equal rights to their life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whereas I am proud to observe this proclamation and its great importance and to present it to Los Ranchos Pride. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Lawrence Rael, Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Los Ranchos to Albuquerque, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim June 2026 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month.
Dr. Cedillo? Dr. Cedillo, here is your proclamation, and thank you so much, as always. It's good to see you. If you'd like to say a few words. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. PJ Cedillo, and this is Joanna Montoya. She's our entertainment director. I just want to say also thank you, trustees, and thank you, Mayor, especially Trustee Baldwin. Thank you for doing this for us. Things get in the way, and life gets in the way, and I appreciate you for taking this initiative. Now, it was our 15th anniversary Pride event, and 15 years ago, I came to the mayor and the trustees, and they were very much afraid of the event. They said, you can't have a parade, you can't. And our mission with this event has always been to keep it small and intimate. And it's always word of mouth. So whoever shows up, shows up. And it's a family-friendly event. Everyone that does show up loves, they don't even know some people that the village even exists. And when they come here, they are so amazed how beautiful it is here in our village. So I thank you very much for that. Just one last thing I want to say. The importance of our event and all Pride events is that there might be one individual there who found their tribe, who found a belonging, who found a way to stay alive that day and live another day. And that's what's crucial. And the importance of Pride and what you do is supporting this, that you kept someone alive in our community and the greater Albuquerque. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
As a resident of the North Valley for my entire life, the 72 years that I have existed, I've always known that I've been different, never wanted to be like the other girls. And so I proudly live my life open for pretty much the majority of my life. And having these kind of functions happen, it just builds the camaraderie, the community, the fact that we are all equal in our Lord's eyes. And thanks to you all, we are proudly put on this event for families, for the youth that are questioning maybe who they are and how they can exist in this world. And I thank you for the opportunity to be here in Los Ranchos, and I'm very proud to be a North Valley girl who attended Mission Avenue, Taft Junior High School, and graduated from Valley High School in 1971. And I have not moved out of the neighborhood or the valley because
It is a great place to be. And I thank you once again.
Thank you.
So see you the first Sunday in June, always the first Sunday in June in 2027.
You got it. All right, we'll now move to item 6, approval of the minutes. Minutes of the May 19th, 2026 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, and I have 2 corrections.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Baldwin to make some corrections to the minutes.
On page 16 of the packet, line 31, the sentence currently reads MRGCD has not entered into prior impairment only operations, and it should be prior and paramount only operations. And then line 335, same page, it should be prior and paramount only, rather than and perma only.
That's a paramount observation. Any other corrections to the minutes? Seeing no other action, all those in favor of the minutes as presented with the correction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we'll now move on to public hearing. Public hearing is a resolution of 2026-05-01, a resolution adopting a plan for the administration and use of local economic development fund funds. This item is otherwise known as our Local Economic Development Act plan. As you all know, we are scheduling it for 3 hearings. We had 1 hearing last month. This is the second of the hearing, and we would like to have this item deferred one more time so that we can give folks in the community enough time to make one of our meetings and to make additional changes to the plan as we see, so that we can adopt this in July. So let me go now to Ms. Schultz to present what changes have occurred and where we are, and if there are any additional comments from the public and or from the trustees.
Thank you, Mayor Rael. As you mentioned, this is the second of what is anticipated to be 3 Board of Trustee hearings on this plan. At the first hearing, I presented the plan in its kind of draft format that really dove into the details of the guardrails that the village will put in place to make sure that public money is well used and well trusted. That plan was published with the Board of Trustee packet, and the trustee members had a conversation at their May hearing. What you'll find in your packet tonight is a red line version of the plan. I was sure to share a track change version so you can very clearly see what has been changed. And there were kind of 2 primary areas of focus. Well, maybe 3. The first one was the plan did not refer to 4th Street correctly. I guess we use the number 4. We don't write out 4th Street, so I replaced all of those throughout the plan. Second is the plan didn't mention or address 4th Street as historic Route 66 at all. This was certainly an oversight by staff, so you'll find a bunch of fresh narrative in the plan about historic Route 66, its importance, and how these funds can help us really celebrate and memorialize that. And then the last kind of substantive change that you'll find later on in the plan relates to the formulation of the advisory committee who will be reviewing LEDA applications and then submitting their recommendation to the Board of Trustees. I think to try to strike a better balance of who's on that committee, there is some proposed text in here that says the mayor is the appointing authority, but that the board members of the Board of Trustees shall submit names to him for his consideration and placement onto the board. I had the pleasure of presenting this plan to the Los Ranchos Economic Development Board last week. These are the business owners in our community who would likely be using these funds in the future, and so they are an important audience for the village to hear input from. I would report that the plan was pretty well received. Folks were excited about it. There were certainly questions about kind of the mechanics of it all, which I was able to answer during that meeting. I have not received any kind of substantive feedback from either the business community or the community at large in the village since our meeting last month. However, in anticipation of the July Board of Trustees hearing, I will present to you another kind of track change version that'll incorporate any changes or comments by this board or the community. With that, I would stand for any questions, and I would certainly take any inputs on the plan. Thank you.
All right, shall we just go to each trustee so that, well, actually, Madam Clerk, do we have someone signed up? Or do we have others signed up for this?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we do. Our first individual is Mr. Tom Donnellan, and he'll be joining us via Zoom, so Darnell is going to get him piped in.
There. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Tom.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Board of Trustees. My name is Tom Donlin. I reside at 6668 Edgewood Drive Northwest. And I like a lot of the revisions that have been put into this one. The one thing reading it this time, I realized that I don't believe the master plan really puts much vision into what the commercial area is. It doesn't talk about it as being a rural commercial district. It just talks about it being a commercial district, which I think caused some of the problems, because with the palindrome with the village center development, because they had a very urban view of that development, and that sort of clashed with what we had, but our master plan didn't reflect that. So I would encourage consideration of making those changes. The two things that I see that would be really useful here to be included would be to provide for public transportation, such as a trolley car to serve and take people from the shared parking to stores and bring them back. And I think that would be a really good thing to add as a possibility. There is also having staff, the idea of having somebody that would be an expediter for restaurants in terms of getting all the permits. Right now, it can take anywhere from 18 to 24 months for a restaurant to get through the process of being able, in a space, to be able to open up. And it really doesn't matter whether it's a new space or an existing space. So those were two things that I think would be good to be included. I also think that
The speaker's time has expired.
Go ahead.
The board, I'm thinking the board should be an odd number, like 5 rather than 4 people to help avoid tie votes.
Okay.
Then thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our next individual is Mr. Vincent Sanchez, if you would. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Vincent Sanchez, 6802 Rio Grande. I appreciate a lot of what is happening with this, and really I just wanted to say that I am glad that it's going to be discussed a little bit more. And the trolley idea, just don't put it in the middle of the street. We saw what happened with.
Indeed.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. With that, Mayor and trustees, that concludes comment on this item of business.
Okay, now we'll go to the trustees if there are any additional thoughts or recommendations that you all might have with the plan. This would be a good time to have that conversation. Trustee Baldwin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I just really appreciate the addition of the historic Route 66 language, not just in one place, but in multiple places. It really does tie it in as a foundational piece of 4th Street. I also just thought it might be helpful, I know it was helpful for me, it might be helpful for others listening to get a clear understanding of the difference between the grants that are part of the program with the microloans and the grants that would be given to the private projects. So just distinguishing, why do we have grants in two places?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Baldwin, thank you for that question over email. I think it was a good one to clarify, just to make sure we're not duplicating efforts. The first kind of grant, the kind of more public forward / facing grant, is intended for when a private business owner wants to come to the village and request project-specific funds. That's kind of one bucket of funding that is identified in the plan. The other kind of microloan program, microloan / grant program, is intended for when the village comes up with a program. So say the village wants to pursue sign redevelopment on the corridor. The village could institute, $100,000 are available for sign renovation along 4th Street. That's what that bucket is intended for. So it's really kind of based on who's initiating that project and what level of scrutiny and review those projects go under. I can make that more clear in the plan, which I think I will do in the next iteration based on your feedback. So thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Thank you.
I also would probably maybe put a finer point on that one as well, Shanna, is that I think the intent would be is to the extent that the loans are designed to help businesses do improvements within their facility, within their buildings, where they actually are asking for a loan and or a match, so that way there's a clear distinction between what might be a public improvement versus what might be a private sector, if you will, loan for businesses. So, but yeah, those are good distinctions for sure. Anything else, Trustee Baldwin?
Nope.
Trustee Reno.
Yeah, one of the things that I just wanted to clarify, excuse me, in terms of these micro loans, would someone then have to have a business that's a brick and mortar in order for that micro loan to be able to be exercised?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Rhino, I believe that the way that the plan talks about eligibility, which should be explicit,
Well, it says that the staff will review the eligibility, but I guess I'm unclear. We have a number of businesses that are in the village that are home-based businesses. Would they be able to access the funding?
Yeah, I think what the plan has, or at least it should if it does not, is a definition for what we would consider a qualifying entity. Just to be clear, that a business who is located in the city of Albuquerque can't come get LEDA funds from the village. That might be a gap in the plan if I'm not able to find it right now, which I can add in the next iteration. I think my question to you, Trustee, right now is, as I'm thinking up this definition for a qualifying entity, is it your policy preference that kind of home-based occupations would be eligible, or is the preference that it's for brick and mortar standalone commercial operations?
Yeah, I would just think that it would be something that we could consider. And I don't know whether the funding itself would restrict that from ever occurring. I don't know that.
Mayor Ryle, Trustee, right now, I think it's ambiguous as the plan is written, and so that is something that I should tighten up. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would think, Shanna, just as a point on that, because I think that makes the trustee brings up a good point. It could be that the trustees, the board of trustees, at the time of considering the next year's funding, decide that, hey, we're gonna really focus on existing businesses within 4th Street corridor, and maybe the following year say, look, we want to help a lot more of these niche industries or businesses within the village get some opportunities to get some funding for it. So it could be flexible enough that on a year-by-year basis, the trustees could actually make that call as part of the design of the next year's, if you will, round of grants and loans. But do find a way to maybe to put that in there, and then let's see how we can feather it out at the final meeting next month. Okay. Any other questions, Trustee Kiefer?
Thank you, Shanna, for making the tweaks that were brought up at last meeting. And I know you, I was there when it was presented to the economic development alongside you, and everybody was super excited that we're there. I'm excited because I hope to bring this up at our June 29th meeting when we have a representation of a lot more businesses rather than just the officers of Main Street. I think it'd be super important, and to hear their opinions as well. The one thing that I didn't see in here, and I know Trustee Edwards brought it up, was potential for bonus points for local businesses. Where if you are a Los Ranchos resident, you can get additional bonus points so that we can encourage the residents of this great community to be entrepreneurs here rather than in necessarily Albuquerque.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, you're right that the only kind of bonuses contemplated in the plan right now are related to an applicant bringing a monetary match to the table. But I could certainly add a resident bonus so that if someone resides in the village and they own a business in the village, that we would bump up their score a little bit.
I think it's at least something to put in here for the public to see and then up for debate at the final revision.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I think that that's an important piece. I do want to make sure that we don't have a business owner who has a lot of employees working in the village who doesn't happen to live in the village now and not be eligible for something that really does still help the village. But I think the putting something in there actually helps the process for sure. Okay. Anything else, Trustee? No. Trustee Edwards.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and everybody who's in the audience. You're a part of your community. I'm glad you're here. I do like what Tom said. It should be an odd number, not an even number. I think that bears repeating because of the importance of it.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Edward, I think the plan is a little ambiguous, or it's just written not very clearly. It is a 5-member committee. There are 4 kind of outside appointees and then 1 village staff member. I am gonna just rewrite it so it's a little clearer that it is 5, it's not 4.
Okay. The other thing I want to reiterate is the local presence. I think, we need to think worldly, but be mindful locally. And to the extent that we are, we're very good in this state about exporting our tax incentives or financial incentives. We don't require any sort of local residence. I think the film industry gets 30% credits, and there's no mandate that any of their executives live here. And so I think for that purpose, the village has become an expensive place to live. Here's a way that we can pay back to the people that it is expensive and maybe make it more affordable by giving them preference. And I really believe strongly in that, and I hope it's in the final draft. And if it's not, I probably won't vote for it. To the extent that LEDA is concerned, I don't know if there should be an extra criteria for architectural control. I find that New Mexico often travels down the path of what's the cheapest. And somehow that is successful, but we all travel to nice places that look nice, and they weren't built on the model of being the cheapest. I think there has to be a quality criteria, especially if it's going to be the community's funds. I have my notes in 2 places, so give me 1 second. I got to get to my other place. I would like a little bit stronger wording. So interestingly enough, local versus, control and oversight. We had a village resident, one of only 2 people who submitted plans for the area where Palindrome was built. And usually when there's a large RFP and there's multiple entries, you might get 10 or 12 entries, and then you narrow it down and you interview 3 of the finalists. That's pretty common, would you agree?
Yes.
We had 2 or 3, and one of them was a resident of the village, and he wasn't even, nobody met with him. And I want to reiterate that local effort. But to that same extent, he probably wasn't met with because he didn't have political ties. And to the extent that that's the case, I think we need to have stronger wording about who makes this up, and that the Board of Trustees has a stronger say as to who's going to be on there. I think it's, right now it's ceremonial, but I don't think it provides the reassurance to the village residents that there's adequate oversight, because I think that a lot of residents, when I was running for office, felt as though there wasn't oversight being exercised with prior administrations, and we don't know what the future administrations, who these people are going to be. You always craft a document expecting and hoping for the best, but being ready for the worst. And so I think there just needs to be a little bit tighter control based upon our style of government. There's, 5 different styles of government in the state that you can pick as a municipality, and ours is very heavily focused on one person. And I live in a democracy, and I would like our, a little bit more democratic element tied into this, because it's the people's money.
Okay, I think those are fair comments, and let's see how we can incorporate some of that. I think the one issue I would obviously put on the table, just that we've got to sort of be mindful, and that is that whenever these proposals are put on the street for folks to respond, there are going to be qualifications for, if you will, for folks to meet qualifications for the projects. And so there may be sometimes try as we might to try and get locals to meet all the qualifications, sometimes those qualifications exclude them too. And so we might just be really mindful as we're writing the document to ensure that we give, because I agree, I'd like to see more of, obviously, the money stay in the village with the village residents. But there are some constraints that we all live under as it relates to a public organization in terms of what we put. But let's see what we can do, and maybe we can come back and maybe you can get with Trustee Edward before with a final meeting so he can see what we're able to do. Then maybe we can get Mr. Chappell to weigh in to make sure we're not violating any kind of state rules or laws as it relates to procurement or to awarding of funds.
Mayor Ryle, I'm happy to do that. Thank you for the direction.
All right.
Can I bring up one quick point?
Go ahead.
Is there anything in there that, we've met with a lot of people here where there's a lot of substandard construction that's been unpermitted, people coming in after the fact knowing better that they should have done something and they didn't. How are you going to evaluate a project where there is a building that they want to modify that was not permitted and somebody looked the other way, and one that was?
Mayor Ryle, Trustee Edward, kind of regardless on if they're getting funds from the village to upgrade or renovate that building, they will still have to go through the building permit approval process through my department. And so any issues would get caught at that stage.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, trustees, we would recommend a motion to defer this to the July meeting. And so I'd like to see if one of you all would make that motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to defer the resolution 260501 to the regular July meeting.
Do we have a second?
A second.
It's been moved second. Any questions, any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, it's been deferred to the July meeting. All right, now we'll go to resolution 2026-05-02, a resolution adopting the FY 2028-2032 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, otherwise known as the ICIP. The items of business, this item was deferred in May as the first public hearing, and now is scheduled for the second hearing, which is tonight, and for final adoption so that we can submit it to the state in July. So with that, we'll go to Mr. Avila to talk about the ICIP.
Mayor, Board of Trustees, again, as Mayor has stated, this is a requirement by our state government to have a list of capital projects that go before the state legislature every year. This list has been developed over the years. Many of these same items have been on there in previous years. Not to confuse anything, but in the back there is in the report section, there is a listing of what the projects were last year, and there's status or some funding that was associated with them over this last legislative session. So at this time, we have the listing of the ICIP projects. One of the differences that Baird pointed out was that last year's did not have, or had, listed transportation projects. But what we learned at the state legislature is that they were directing funding to NMDOT, and through that process were getting funding out for roads and mostly through that process, similar to how the Water Trust Board was getting funds out for water projects. So for that reason, one, it was removed from the list last year. It doesn't appear on this list. Also, what we're able to take advantage of year after year is some grants. Sort of the co-op grant, the MAP grant, which is, municipal arterial projects, and TAP and other DOT grants. So that's how we're funding some of our roads. That's why it's another reason why it's not on the list last year. That we finally went to the legislature, and it's not on this year. With that, we have this year's ranking that was developed last year. It's in the same format, except for the last four, or actually the last three, which is public works, garages, village-wide stormwater, and improved village-owned SECIA's plan, design, and construct. And those are for SECIA's internal canals that are on village properties. And there's two main properties. That's the Del Norte open space and the Agri Center. So with that, this is the list before you. Stand for any questions if I can. And then also, I believe the public was able to speak on these.
Madam Chair, thank you, John. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up on this particular item?
Mayor, there are no individuals listed to speak on this item of business.
All right, let me sort of take a crack at how we may manage our way through this. The list, as John has indicated, is the list from last year. My first question to you all would be there are two steps. One is the list is fairly inclusive of most projects that we worked on or that we're working on, and that are either have some funding or in need of funding additionally to bring them to some level of completion. So the first thing would be, I would ask the trustees, are there any other projects that you all have or that you feel that we should add to this list? That would be the first question, regardless of where they fall in the list. And then the next question would be, after we get those on the table, if there aren't, that's fine too. And then the next, is this the right ranking as you all see it, so that we can ensure that we at least get it to the state? Now, I've made these comments before, so I'll just keep it brief. As you all know, the legislative process is very different than what is described as a process for us to do things at the local level, which means that legislators just want to make sure that this list is before them so that they can pick and choose which of these projects they feel like they'd like to support, provide funding for them. So in many ways, our ranking is important in the sense that maybe the one or number two and number one projects may be what they'd like to do to really help us, but they also have the flexibility of funding projects that may not be in our top five, or that may be on this list. And as we know from last year, even the fact that we had money for the Veterans Memorial, which was not necessarily on our list at the time. So I just preface that by simply saying, I think it's better to err on the side of putting the project on the list, number one. And then number two is if there is a consensus that this is the right ranking, then that's fine too. So I will open it up for discussion from any of the trustees on, first of all, are there any projects that we would like to add to this list that you feel we should put on the list? And keep in mind, I would say, John, if I'm wrong, you tell me, if something comes up between now and the legislative session where we really need to make a change, I think there's a way for us to get that done through our lobbyists and through our processes, shall we say, through the process of visiting with legislators as well. So it's not, at the end of the day, a closed door, but I would certainly want to keep it as concise as we can. Trustee Renner.
So again, so these items now, John, to clarify, these now ranked in terms of the priority for the village?
Excuse me, Trustee, right now, Board of Trustees. They are ranked as in the same ranking they were last year, except for the last three. Actually, Village, the Veterans Memorial was within one of these other projects that's listed before it, but then this year we had the opportunity and the willingness of the legislature to go ahead and just declare it as a project of its own. So they are in the same rank order with the additions of the last three that were suggested for this year.
You know, so the issue then before us is whether this priority is still a priority. You know, and what my thought is, and Mayor, you may have a comment about this, is that the legislature typically likes to fund projects that are shovel-ready. So should the shovel-ready projects then be included as the major priorities? You know, and so although again, I think that there's still, you know, certainly a lot of interest in open space, you know, and there's certainly a lot of interest in some of the others that are in the first five. But the question that our legislators may get is, are these projects shovel-ready so that the state will then benefit, the state and community will benefit from these projects? And Mayor, I mean, you have a lot more experience with this.
Well, I would say to you, Trustee Rao and members of the group here, that a lot of times the legislature does like shovel-ready projects, as you said. However, you know, they do have a timeline in terms of expenditures of the funds, right? So they give you 2 years to typically, on most appropriations, if the project does not move in 2 years, you typically have to go back either to get it reauthorized to use it. So in that sense, you have 2 years to get it shovel-ready. Or to prioritize it and simply say, hey, let's just say, for example, I know that the village ran into an issue years ago with when the barn was first built there with the archaeological issues that surfaced when it was first put in its location. And they had to go back and reauthorize some funds because the archaeological review took a lot longer than they had anticipated. So I guess to answer your question more directly, they do like shovel-ready projects, but there is a process to get a project shovel-ready, and so I wouldn't position our requests into that bucket, if you will. I wouldn't say and constrain ourselves that they have to be absolutely shovel-ready, but I would say that we should at least get them shovel-ready within the 2 years of the appropriation, so that we can make sure that we can get to expending the funds in some fashion. And look, like I said before, these are all encompassing. There's a lot of projects in here, as you all know, and if you add all these funds, obviously it'd be great if we got all the money for all of them, but we know we're not. And so I think the idea here is just to make sure if there's any project that you all have been thinking about or concerned with, we could add it on. And if not, we can certainly use this list, submit it, and as we go through the process in the next 6 months, if something comes up, we certainly can go back to our legislators and say, look, we have a project that just, we need to get it done because there's a priority of some sort, whatever that might be. Go ahead, Trustee Kiefer.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question on 2 of the items on this list.
Okay.
First question is the Veterans Memorial Plan Design Construction. I know we got money for it already. Is this $500K in addition to what we've already received? Or is it something that we've gotten enough to do what we plan on doing and it needs to be removed?
I believe, John, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the $500K is the total cost of the project, and so that's what was listed here. So that number probably needs to be 250 because or 350, excuse me, because we got 152 this last session, and I think that the committee that's working on this with the veterans folks and our state senator, who is very supportive, would like us to think about at least something closer to $500,000.
Okay.
So that number probably needs to be adjusted. Am I wrong, John?
Mayor, Board of Trustees, the 500,000, yes, is the approximate cost of a full build out of the memorial. So by the time it's built, that might be a little higher. So I would leave it the same, but that's in essence what it is. That's the estimated cost right now. For a full build out, we have 150 to get started. We have the design and then the core of what that memorial would be. And what's discussion is that really a memorial of this size or of this scale would be more in the neighborhood of 500,000.
Okay. And I guess the reason I look at it, right, is if we're saying, okay, 500,000 each year, and I'm a legislator and I'm like, well, I just gave you 150 towards it. Why does the goalpost keep moving, right?
Sure.
And so that was one. The second one that comes to mind and it is the contentious one, number 15, right? The Chavez Trail.
Mm-hmm.
We last month said, okay, we're gonna look at the full design of it at a next meeting, but with no commitment because we don't know yet whether it will really work and whether or not the residents would really want it. So I guess my concern is, should we be asking for build money? Because let's say we happen to get, an allocated amount, now we're even more committed and forced to move forward or pay back even more money if it's something that that this board and the community decides one way or the other on.
Sure. Okay. That's a fair point. And that is a good example of why we should obviously look at these. My first take on the Chavez project or on this particular request is quite frankly the opposite perspective. If the community decides that we're not going to use the federal funds, we still need to do mitigation work on Chavez Road to deal with public safety issues with speeding and other, if you will, as the gentleman that was here earlier talking about the speeding through that area. So I view this as our safety net, that if we are able to get money for that road and we do something that other than, and we don't do the federal dollars, that we have some funding to be able to do some improvements.
So could we just call it Chavez Road and get rid of the trail?
Absolutely.
Because to me, the trail kind of insinuates that's what it would be used for. And we already have trails up in number 4.
Sure. In fact, we should just make it Chavez Road and take multi-use trail. So let's do that, John, so that way that gives us the flexibility that we need. Okay. Good question. Trustee Baldwin.
I was going to say we're all like converging around the same items. Number 5, the Los Ranchos de Albuquerque Community Center at $1.5 million. In the description in the administrator's report, the more expansive description includes the Veterans Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to make sure that we aren't sort of double listing, a separate Veterans Memorial for 500 and then the 1.5 includes the Veterans Memorial. So again, I don't have a strong feeling if politically it makes more sense to pull veterans out to a separate line item, then we just need to make sure we are tracking the money consistently.
Let's put a point on that. Let's do that, John, because I think last year when we had it in there, we were trying to use an anchor to get the funding. And now that our senator has decided that this is a priority for her, let's take that out of the community's description and just make it community center investment.
Cool. And then number 12, Ortega Road, reconstruction is listed at 5 million here, but 4 million in the report, and we just need to make it consistent.
Okay.
And then with Chavez Road, it says 2 million here, but it says 3 million in the report.
Okay.
So again, I think we need to be consistent. Sort of riffing off on Trustee Reinau's comments around shovel ready, the only thing that I would sort of urge us, even if it's not reordering the ranking, but in a practical matter, it's finishing what we start. So if, we've got 4th Street renovation repairs, we really need to finish that top to bottom. As we are starting and getting money for the Veterans Memorial, then let's make sure we finish it, that we finish improvements on Chavez Road one way or another. So that's just, we've got the pilot for the sound barriers on Paseo del Norte, really focusing on finishing that after we get feedback from those pilot projects that it's doing what we want it to do.
Okay. This is an interesting sort of juxtaposed position, because when we have community interests, we as a community love to have our citizens come and tell us what they think are the most important. However, sometimes they're not privy to what's happening on a day-to-day side of the house on getting things done, right? So when you have to your point, getting things finished versus putting in something new, they don't always have that background information, right, to be able to, so in this particular case, I think that's sort of the challenge in the disconnect between what the community wants and likes to have and what we think would be helpful to us to put the bow on a project and get it done. And so your points are well taken as it relates to that. And John, let's just make sure we're consistent on the numbers. I appreciate you all bringing that to our attention. Let's just make sure that the numbers in the plan are exactly the same numbers that are on this list. Okay. Trustee Edwards?
Thank you very much. Can you clarify for me real quick, are these based upon numbers of last year, or what was the year that these numbers were created off of?
Hey, Trustee Edwards, Board Trustees. The ranking is from.
No,
last year.
Just pick an item.
And the dollar amounts are from last year, as was referred to in the report. So that report matches up pretty close to these. As these projects get older, we'll have to adjust those numbers up. One of the rules of thumb was that you're going to have to add 15% every year on any particular project. So at this point, this is, we're just staying in the ballpark from what we had last year.
So ballpark means the same or higher?
It means the same, possibly higher on a couple of them. So like, for instance, Ortega, it's been pointed out that is, quite a road. It's got a lot of things going on there, needs a lot of design and traffic calming devices and so forth. So that was a little higher than it was previously thought of.
Okay. One of the things that's not on here, we can build a lot of things into roads in the hopes that people are going to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to slow down if we don't have law enforcement giving people tickets. If you go to Corrales and you say, how fast do you drive slow. And why do you drive slow? Because they have a reputation of doing what to you? Giving you a ticket. There is no reputation like that here at all. None. There is no reputation that you will get cited for breaking the law, period. It's lawless. And so I see some of these numbers on here on some projects that I think should probably be lower and could be lower if we gave out tickets, and those meaningful dollars applied towards other projects, which I think are meaningfully way too small. Like I'm looking on here, and there's only 2 things on here that deal with the youth of our children, and we're last place in youth, and they aren't just at the bottom as far as their size. You're not going to get a multi-generational recreation facility for $1.5 million. You can't even buy a house for $1.5 million. I think we have bad priorities. We want kids to be good, but we don't ticket their parents that are going 50 miles an hour to take them to a school. And then they have no place to go hang out and learn and grow. We are doing a massive disservice. You can't even get on a ball field in the village of Los Ranchos at a school because they're all chain link fenced off. You can't get on a basketball court. We don't have a pool. There's no performance place. I think that this thing is so geared towards somebody worrying about somebody speeding, but then we don't have cops giving out tickets. And I don't ever see law enforcement at our meetings. Law enforcement is not here. These people were here earlier today. They're talking into a big dark space. And so for me, I think for that reason, Osuna is a really important one. We need to help these people. I want to like put that way higher on the list. These people need to be seen and heard. I definitely changed the order there. One of the things I'd like to see is if you take a look at 19 and 20, interestingly enough, our country spends over $100 billion a year on flood reactivity. And we spend almost that much on drought reactivity. And right now the village of Los Ranchos is, fields look different. They're brown. And they're gonna be really brown in about 2 weeks. And so I see stormwater infrastructure at 12 million, village on safety improvements 1 million. What can we do in tying those two together that we're gonna harness our stormwater and do something meaningful with that water? I think that I would like to reposition these in such a way that they're addressing our needs. So Clinton P. Anderson in 1962 and Kennedy came up with the unheard of thing of taking water from Colorado River going into the Pacific Ocean and bringing it into this side going into the Atlantic Ocean. And so I'd like us to think of these things a little bit more strategically, that we're not going to just have stormwater infrastructure. We're going to have stormwater infrastructure that we can then harness that water and water a field to support our open spaces. There's a lot of fields that don't get irrigated. I'd like to see Rio Grande Boulevard reconstruction be reduced, and I'd like to see the sound barriers on Paseo del Norte increased. I don't think that you're going to get what the community is expecting. And I think that the fire in the building is on Paseo because those cars are going, 65 miles an hour? 70 miles an hour?
Sure. So you pointed out a lot of things, which is great. Let's maybe sort of get to them so that way we don't lose track of your perspective. I think we should put number one is building a pipeline from the Mississippi to Los Ranchos so we get the water.
Yes, that would be awesome.
And so that we can be in the Kennedy.
They've actually studied that, by the way.
I know they did. Look, I appreciate your philosophical perspective of these issues, and it's awesome to hear it. I think we just got to be a little more practical about what we got to get done. So let me ask you first and foremost, the projects that are in here, you would like to see Ortega Road reconstruction.
No, Osuna.
Or Osuna, I'm sorry.
Osuna.
At 1.6. Where would you like to see that?
I'd like to see that in the top 7 at least.
So we don't have to vote on every one of these. So I'm going to look at concurrence by people nodding their heads or telling me, and then if we get into a debate over one of them, we can debate. So Trustee Edwards would like to see Osuna move up in the top 5. Is that right?
That would be good. I think that I'll tell you an anecdotal story. I'm at Costco, and I'm talking to a guy who lives in Tinnen Farm, and I hadn't even heard these people yet. He's
I
like,
do my shopping locally myself, but I'm just kidding with you.
I can't get Diet Coke that cheap, I'm sorry. And he brought it up to me, and I thought to myself, wow, I mean, we're hearing it from different parts of our community, and I think that.
Okay. So John, let's move, unless anybody has a concern, let's move the Osuna road improvements from number 10. Let's put that in the top 5, and let's just put it as move the Los Ranchos Community Center piece down 1 and put this Osuna as number 5. Is that high enough for you, Trustee Edwards?
Yeah, and I'd like to see, can we combine community center with multi-generational center?
Sure.
I think that's $3 million. We're not gonna get anything for $1.5 million, and I'd like to make it $5 million.
All right, let's do that combination as well. So John, you're keeping track of this, are you, right? Okay,
Can I, just a question, because
sure.
these are two different goals. And so I get that you're not going to create a new multi-generational recreation center for 1.5 million. But if we combine it, then what is our real priority? Because the community center is, described as a very specific set of redevelopments, I think around Anderson House. And so again, like, what are we talking about I'm a little hesitant to sort of combine things on the fly.
Those are good points. Those are great.
I do think that, we're talking about the same thing in terms of Osuna Road is something we've started. We got some money last time, a small amount, and moving it up so it says, let's finish it. Let's get the rest of the improvements done. I think that makes sense. I'd want us to just be a little cautious about throwing stuff around too fast on the fly.
All right, well, let's go back then we'll move Osuna up. The combination of both of those, that is a good point, Trustee Baldwin, about combining two facilities. And look, I think that the important part here is that we get funding in some level, and look, both of them are good projects, and obviously, I think either one getting funding would help kickstart either one of them. So it might be just worthwhile just leaving them as separate at this point, recognizing that that we may not obviously going to get both of them. Is there any other ones, Trustee Edwards, you'd like to move up? You thought you talked about.
I think I understand. You've been in this business longer than I have.
Right.
You put a small number in there, you get the small number, but then nothing happens. And I like to think that we're kind of an aspirational community, and we want to create aspirational things. We're not going to get much of any aspirational value for $1.5 million. And I think to myself, I know what the real estate costs, and I know what the construction costs.
So if the number concerns you, what number would you like to put in there?
I think both of them have to be in excess of $5 million.
All right, let's just make them both at $6 million apiece, John. I mean, I think at this point we're basically putting numbers that and I appreciate your perspective that are realistic as it relates to the real cost, the total cost of the projects. The challenge with that is getting the funding from the legislature at that level is highly unlikely, but nonetheless, I do think you're right, maybe aspirational, saying, look, this is what we think it's going to cost, and can we get there? It may take us a couple of legislative sessions to get there, but at least we got that.
And I don't know, I mean, I think we should be honest about what we really think it costs as opposed to just misguiding people down.
All right, so we've got those two changes. You got those two, John? All right. The sound barriers on Paseo are probably in the neighborhood of 18 to 20 million.
Yeah.
So let's just make them 20 million on Paseo, John, just so that we are being realistic about the numbers and obviously the costs associated with that. Are there any others you had a concern, Trustee? And I'm gonna. Any of the trustees want to pipe in? If they don't agree with any of this, please let's get that resolved so that we can get this list finalized this evening. Is there any other changes, Trustee Kiefer?
Not for me. I mean,
Right.
we're also got to keep in mind we're going into a 60-day session with a new governor.
Right.
So priorities could be completely different and a full new legislative
Right.
body, so.
Trustee Baldwin, anything else?
No, I appreciate the conversation.
All right. So I will add one piece that's interesting here because I do think that John makes a really good point. I'd like to see if we can, looking at this list here, John, and I probably kick myself for not actually putting it on earlier, and that is, we really ought to put in public safety infrastructure, whether it's cameras or technology or something in our list, just because obviously we don't have a police officer at every intersection by any stretch of the imagination, but there are some technology, if you will, equipment that we could potentially implement in the village that would help deal with some of the concerns of public safety. So if we could maybe put public safety technology improvements and write up a scope that includes cameras, includes any other, for example, shot spotters, especially as it relates to whatever happens on on Paseo, and also looking at, we do have LPRs, license plate readers now that are pretty active, and so let's just put a list of public safety, and we should probably put that at the top, just simply because I think this is the issue that the community really has concerns with in this list, unless anybody has a concern with that.
Not a concern, more, let's just take what we have and expand on it, which is we do have the village-wide road safety piece for 11 million that's in the report that Administrator Avila said we tend to go after other DOT funding. But I agree with you, we should put it on the ICIP because again, a legislature may go, hey, I want to help you with speed cameras or something else. So I would say, let's be more expansive about what's in that road safety, and if 11 million isn't enough, then bump it up a little.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right, so John, why don't you read us the list as we have amended it now informally, and then we'll go to a vote to adopt it officially.
All right, the list, priority 1, public safety improvements, a dollar amount to be determined, but in the teens of millions?
I think we had at least asked for 3 million for public safety.
3 million? Okay. That's number 1. Then it's open space, Los Ranchos Agri-Nature Center, 4th Street Road renovations.
Again, for John, I'm sorry, I don't mean, this is all a sort of real-time editing. I'm going to say to you, trustees, that I would move the Agri-Nature Center a little further down, and here's why. We have 2.5 million in our coffers already. It's going to take us at least another year and a half to spend it and to get that done. Asking for more funds for that project, the question is going to be asked of all of us, well, what have you done with the money we just gave you last year? And so going back to the shovel-ready conversation that Trustee Rana talked about earlier, it might be appropriate for us. I think we should still ask for money for Agri-Nature Center, but that one could move down to like number 6 or 7, just simply because we already have funds for that. And I don't want to get in a conversation with legislators. We've given you money until you spend that. We're not going to give you any more money for that, because that's usually what they ask you, and it's fair. You can't be storing money for a project that you haven't, and then come back and ask for more. So I would move that one down to like since we moved everything down to include Osuna up there, John, let's just move that to number 6 or 7 in the list.
So, let's see. Okay.
This is challenging.
Yeah, no, it gets to
Poking one
that.
place, pushing another.
Okay, so then 4th Street would become the number
4.
4.
Then it would be Osuna Road Improvements at number 5. Los Ranchos, the Albuquerque Community Center, number 6. then Agri-Nature Center at number 7. Okay. I think we pick it up from there. So number 8 would be Village Municipal Center. Next, Alfredo Garcia Community Barn, Rio Grande Boulevard Reconstruction, Sound Barriers, El Pueblo Road Reconstruction, Ortega Road, Multi-Generational Recreation, Balloon Quarter Property Preservation, Chavez Road, EV and Solar Generation, Veterans Memorial Plan Design Construct, Public Works Garages, Plans Design Construct, Village-wide Stormwater Purchase Plan Design Construct, and improve Village Zone de Sequoias Plan Design Construct.
Right. Okay, and let's just make sure we add the numbers correctly. For the Village Community Center, we are asking for 6 million.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, one thing. I lost the number, John, for the multi-use trail and river access.
Okay, where's that?
That was that's currently the number 4, John.
Okay.
Yeah, and
First
I
street
think
was
you
4.
picked up on the renumbering before tying that one back.
2, 3. So it's 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Then it became Osuna Road, and then that would be number 6.
Number 6. Okay.
Okay, that's great. All right, so now let's look at the numbers just really quick so that we can make sure that we are being truthful as best we can know about the costs. Both the multi-gen center and the community center, we should make those at 6 million. The Paseo del Norte noise barriers, make that to 20 million. I think, let's see, are there any others, Trustee Edwards, that you'd like to bump up just so that we can make sure that we're not,
I guess, am I turned on? Yeah. When it came to the recreational type facilities and stuff, I'd like to make sure that there's a pool in there somehow. If you can expand the definition, if that has to be done on your side, John, I don't know, Mayor, how that's done.
why don't we just add at the Los Ranchos, the Albuquerque Community Center and Pool Facility?
Okay.
And just broaden the scope of that one, so that way there's at least a place to look to, okay? And if that's what we're gonna do, then that number needs to go up to 5 million.
Yeah. And then,
Which one?
Oh, it's at 6.
it's at 6 million
right now.
already.
Oh, I'm sorry, is it at 6? Okay,
Yeah, and the multi-generational
Right.
recreation is also 6.
okay, let's leave them at 6 then.
So the mayor, we don't have to move it to 70 million, because I heard that's what pools are going for.
Yeah, no kidding.
What did you say, what was the number?
That's the
70
Taj, the
million.
Taj Mahal.
Hell, yes, it does.
At
the
the
country
Domingo.
club.
That Domingo Bar.
Mayor, just a point of clarification. So we have this village-wide road safety amount of 11 million that's in the administrator's report, but wasn't originally in the ICIP. But I thought I heard you say wasn't moving that up and then expanding it with more detail about the various elements that could be in it, but to have a new separate public safety improvement at 3 million. So can we have the village-wide road safety on there? Because, again, it doesn't hurt to have it on the ICIP, and it actually reinforces that we will take any money, whether
That
it's DOT or some other place.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that then, John.
Can I put it at the end just to keep it simple?
Yes,
Okay.
Yep.
you got it. Okay. All right, look,
Can I make
go
one?
ahead, Trustee Edwards.
Sorry. For number 19, maybe we could rephrase it as this way. So there's 2 different types of way of dealing with stormwater. One is to retain it, and one is to detain it. And so a retention type pond means it's gonna, I believe it's gonna stay there. And I guess I think to myself, is there a place and a way that we can do that, that if we have to keep it, let's use that to further our agricultural element, as opposed to, the type of stormwater infrastructure where you have to release it after, I don't know, so many hours or days.
Sure.
If we have to deal with it, man, let's find a way to use it. My sister has 300,000 gallons of cistern at her place, and she provides all her own water.
Well, I was thinking of combining that with a pool idea.
That's a great idea. Why not?
That's how we used to do it back in the farm. But I think your point is well taken. I think maybe with the caption that says village-wide stormwater use and reuse, and maybe sort of put something in there so that way it captures either whether we use it as for agricultural purposes or we have to or we drain it.
That's great. It gives us flexibility that way.
We have to be, I gotta say this, you know, I've been hanging out too much with our friends at MRGCD. There are requirements around storage, and we can't just do retention ponds for the village and like send it off all over the place. So that we just have to be careful about how we word it, that we aren't getting sideways on that.
Well, I think use and reuse gives you enough flexibility to make that decision.
Agreed.
Right? So it's not like we're saying we're gonna store it completely. But I do think that there are some places, I mean, if you all remember Trustee George Ratnovich always talked about trying to use some of that water for irrigating trees and in our right of way, et cetera. So I do think that there's some, to me, that's the reuse piece of it that we're all getting at.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, so now we've restructured this. I think that that certainly, I think reflects a lot more of the priorities of the community. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the ICIP as amended. Do we have a motion?
Mayor, I will make a motion to approve the ICIP 2026 to 2032 ranking as amended.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All right, it's been moved and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Or do we have to do a roll call on this one? All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought resolutions didn't need a roll call, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Resolutions and ordinances, don't forget. Trustee Baldwin?
Aye.
In favor? Thank you. Trustee Edward?
Yes, aye.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Rydell?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, very good. Thank you. And thanks for your patience on this, you all. This one was a little bit of a challenge, but I think we got it done. All right, we're going to move to item 8, new business, confirmation of employment pursuant to State Statute 3-11-6 and MSA 1978, subject to the approval of the majority of all the members of the governing body. The mayor shall appoint all officers and employees. We have an employee that serves as the executive assistant in the front desk, and I'll have, I guess, Madam Clerk, maybe describe a little bit about Ms. Carey's work and what she's doing.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and trustees, we have this individual by the name of Carrie Basie. She recently got married, so her name is changed to Heredia. She has been serving in this role on a temporary basis since November of 2025. And she has proven herself quite well and was interested in applying for this position. So we have decided to hire her and bring her on as a permanent employee with the Village of Los Ranchos. As you know or have you met her, she's quite welcoming, and she's a great face and voice for the village. So we're very excited if you do choose to confirm her this evening.
All right, any other questions? With that, we need a motion for confirmation.
Mr. Mayor, I move to confirm the employment of Carrie Basie Heredia.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Now we'll move to item B. Ms. Lee Bruner, attorney. As we've talked about some time ago, we wanted to bring in an in-house attorney to the village so that we could give Mr. Chappell a little bit more free time. We find ourselves needing even more and more an attorney in-house to look at everything from the planning decisions that are made in the planning department to contracts, resolutions, ordinances, and even as we continue to work with our friends in Santa Fe, especially with DFA and the Water Trust Board and others, all of those organizations have lots of contracts that we need to review, especially as we go after more and more funding. Ms. Bruner would be hired as a three-quarter time attorney that would be available to provide day-to-day, if you will, support for the staff here, and would be available for our trustee meetings. And from time to time, when we need an expert like Mr. Bill Chappell provides, we would obviously still retain his ability to call upon him for specific, if you will, issues that we certainly are going to continue to have to deal with. And so that was part of the budget recommendation. And so we've advertised for this position for some time. And I think we've interviewed several folks. It's really hard to find an attorney that does municipal work, that understands that work. And she is interested in coming to work for us at a very, very reasonable rate, I would say. And I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to have more hands on the table, if you will, to do more things. So anyway, John, would you like to add anything else to that, or you, Madam Clerk?
I'd say that she does have a lot of experience with the city of Albuquerque, and talking to her, she has experience before the courts as well, so she can take cases to court.
Mm-hmm. All right, so with that, we need a motion to approve the confirmation of Ms. Bruner.
Mr. Mayor, I move to confirm the employment of Lee Bruner.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Question, start date?
Oh, I'm sorry. Start date for Ms. Bruner is?
Mayor and trustees, we have a start date of July 20th, which is a Monday.
Okay. Go ahead, Trustee Edwards has a question.
So I came across this knowledge through Shanna. I was asking her questions about when there's violations in the village, why doesn't things seem to happen? And she says, you want to tell the story? Because you're probably much better at it.
Mayor Royale and trustees, Trustee Edward and I were discussing the challenges associated with the village being subject to only a municipal court system and our zoning violations being subject only to criminal penalty provisions. Whereas other jurisdictions that I've worked in, and more commonly, you also have a civil enforcement mechanism which can have more teeth and can get you results more quickly. And so I suspect that Trustee Edwards' question might be related to how, I won't actually speculate what your question is, but
go for it.
We were just discussing the limited remedies the village currently has for code enforcement under a criminal penalty system.
And it's because of that, the criminal court is different than civil court. And to the extent that this lady has criminal court experience versus that of civil court experience, and has that been a consideration? And I think at the very least, we as a body need to implore our legislators. We're the only municipality in the entire state of New Mexico that falls under this element. And I think as a result of it, we're hurting ourselves. But until then, how important is it for somebody to have experience in a criminal courtroom versus that of civil, and has she ever done that?
Mayor Royale, Trustee Edward, I have the privilege of being on the interview panel for the village attorney because a lot of what the village attorney does relates to planning and zoning work, and I felt confident in my questions asked to her and how she can assist the department with being more effective as it relates to code enforcement, among other duties of the department, that she would be an asset to the team.
Okay. And then just out of curiosity, because we've had such difficulty in hiring in a lot of positions in the village, can you give us an idea, like how many applicants there were, how many people were interviewed?
Mayor Royale, Trustee Edward, I would leave that question to the HR rep for the village, Danielle.
Thank you, Shanna. Mayor and trustees, we had 2 qualified applicants for the attorney, and we interviewed both of them, and out of the 2, this is what the evaluation committee recommended to the mayor. Mayor was also on the panel, so
Yeah,
that was.
Yeah, and let me add to this. We have the position posted for, how long?
It was quite a while.
I mean, I think
It's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's been at least 6 months, or maybe even less than that, but not that long, not too much. It's just really hard to find folks who want to take on these roles in a smaller municipality, mostly because of our pay scale. And secondly is the issue you just raised, right? If you're looking for a younger individual that wants to get involved in a lot more, if you will, of the work that happens in government, Albuquerque's the perfect place to go, or some other city, because they have more opportunity. The reason I am excited about this particular one, and as much as we only had 2 people, I did interview like many other folks during the legislative session. Anywhere I could find someone who was an attorney, say, hey, we have an attorney opening. Would you be interested in coming to the village? And we interviewed one of the attorneys for the municipal league as well, and who was very interested in coming, had a lot of experience in municipal government. And then when we talked about the salary range, yeah, we weren't even close. So I do think that it's a challenge, but I view it this way, Trustee Edwards and trustees. I've got the ace in the hole in Mr. Chappell. He is by far, bar none, one of the most experienced attorneys that I've worked with, whether it's here or even with my time at the city, et cetera. Mr. Chappell still will be available to us for the more complicated and difficult cases. I view this attorney being much more of a attorney that will help us operationally and to deal with these issues that you just described, going to court and getting us that work. There are some cases that are very difficult that probably need expertise. As the old saying, you don't hire a plumber to do heart surgery, although it might be not a bad idea sometimes, but nonetheless, we just want to make sure we get the right persons, and I think we've got a pretty good balance of both inside counsel and outside counsel, and so at least that gives you at least a sense of how long we've been looking for this position.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to second guess anybody, but this element of looking at her, it didn't say criminal, and I found out about this aspect about the criminal court, which I think this body needs to tackle that and get our legislators to get that changed, because it makes us ineffective.
No question. All right, any other questions?
Mayor, just one question.
Trustee Keever, Board of Trustees, we do have other outside attorneys that we've used. You've seen Randy Audio come here as well. So there's 1, 2, 3, at least 3 other firms that we've hired.
For their specialized.
For the special, whatever case that it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we'll probably always have some specialized attorneys in some areas, but this will help us, I think, curb a lot of the need to use folks that are that are doing what I would call day-to-day work at local government. We're paying a different wage, and I think it'll help us budgetarily. But yeah, we still have our attorneys that are dealing with the palindrome issue and the negotiations. Vincent, we have obviously Mr. Chappell. We have attorneys that are dealing with the issues associated with the 2 homes that are causing us a lot of problems on Schulte and Transcosa, simply because they are experts in that field. And from time to time, we might engage an attorney to help us with, as Randy Audio did on a contract with a state that was a bit different than what we normally do. But we try and keep those to a minimum, and usually I always defer to Mr. Chappell's guidance in terms of just expertise and in areas where we think we need them.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, any other discussion? If not, we need a motion. Well, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor of confirmation of Ms. Brunner signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move now to award of contract, approval of award, planning and permitting software, RFP number 2026-03 PPS, authorizing mayor to enter into contract with, how do I pronounce that name?
Granicus.
Granicus LLC. Ms. Schultz to explain.
Thank you, Mayor Royale and Board of Trustee members. I am very excited to bring before you this evening a request to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with Granicus. Earlier this year, my department issued an RFP for planning permitting software. To my surprise, we got a lot of responses, about 13, which is about 10 more than I was expecting. So there was a pretty heavy review process to read all that documentation. We selected our top couple of candidates and then did product and software demos with those candidates so that we could see what the end product would look like to understand, will this be usable for our village residents, but will it also be usable for staff? And Granicus came out on top. Let me tell you just a little bit about what you can expect to see as the software platform gets online before the end of the year, if you're to move forward with authorizing the mayor this evening. First, it will move what is now entirely a paper plan submittal system at the village to electronic. This has a lot of benefits. The first one that I'll mention, which I think is of interest to everyone here, is record keeping and access to records and being able to quickly and clearly find records associated with development in the village. But second, there is also just an aspect of human error that happens when you do everything by paper and you keep records by spreadsheet. My staff does an incredible job to keep on top of all of this, but there is a human error element that we can almost entirely extinguish by moving to an online platform. Something I feel really excited about that this software will offer is a code enforcement module. Code enforcement is pretty lax at the village here. I mean, someone makes a phone call, we log it on an Excel sheet, and that is kind of the extent to which we are able to track and monitor cases. That is not sophisticated, and it does not allow us to adequately respond to the community and their concerns. And so the code enforcement module is one of the things I'm most excited about, in which there will be a platform online for people to anonymously or not report complaints. It will officially and formally go into a system that can be tracked by that individual. Right now, code enforcement complaints from the public's perspective go into a black hole. They don't. There's a spreadsheet that we keep track of, but the public doesn't have access to that. They don't know where a code enforcement case is at. And so this will offer a lot more transparency to village residents for code enforcement and plan review. And third, it will just help automate a lot of what the department does in terms of plan review, in terms of fee calculation, which we mostly do by hand now, which again just introduces human error. And so I feel confident that the suite of services that Granicus can provide to the village is the right fit, above and beyond what the other respondents had to offer. In the price quotes, they were the most competitive, and so I think we're doing the taxpayers of the village a good service by going with Granicus. And then lastly, I'll just mention that Granicus has a huge municipal software suite, and so right now we're looking at planning and permitting and code enforcement and some GIS mapping integration. But if the village wanted to digitize any of its other services in the future, Granicus would be able to offer the village everything it needs. And so I feel like we're setting up a good foundation by moving forward with Granicus. I think a lot of the work that the clerk and HR does, Granicus could offer software in the future that would integrate really well with an existing platform if we're to move forward. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions of, what do you think, Ms. Trustee Kiefer?
I think it's super exciting. Thank you, Shanna. Couple questions regarding it. One is, will it help in, of course, as it's used, will it help in historical determinations for any future planning and zoning directors to understand what has historically been done for approvals and or variances and things of that sort?
Mayor Royale, Trustee Kiefer, absolutely. This will be the kind of catch-all repository for anything that happens at P&Z. The problem you're describing right now is the village has had maybe 5 planning directors over the last 6 years, some of who have made decisions over their email, some who have made decisions on a piece of paper written on their desk that has gone who knows where. This software will be the repository for all those decisions to live in perpetuity for a director or an administrator or someone seeking an IPRA request to be able to access those. So yes, I'm confident that will be taken care of.
Perfect. The second question that I have, and I don't know if you've even considered this, is the complexity of the conservation pilot project that's going on Chavez and Guadalupe. There were probably, oh goodness, 5, 6 public meetings just with an Excel spreadsheet on how to do the math calculations of the FAR for all of the houses to be used or that can be built and their square footage for each house to be subtracted from the total FAR. And that was a huge concern of going back to human error and going back to an Excel spreadsheet. Is this something that this, for a project base, can it look at, hey, the FAR is 100,000 square feet, and as each permit comes in, subtract from that 100,000 square feet to determine the allowable amount that's left?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, yes, the software is extremely customizable in that we can essentially program it to do anything we need. And so if we have a special provision related to conservation development, we would set up kind of a special application type within the software suite so that it gets triggered when there's a conservation development or a new development happening within a conservation development, that it does a lot of those calculations automatically. Yes.
Awesome. And then finally, as much as I love automation, we also have to be cognizant of our population who may be more technology adverse. So how, I guess, what are the thoughts of handling that?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, great question. My pipe dream is to never accept paper at the village again. I understand that is not realistic. What I would propose, especially in the first couple years that the software is getting on board, is that the village would have kind of a public kiosk in the planning department where if someone didn't feel comfortable or know how to access the software on their home computer, their office computer, they could come into the village, a staff member could sit with them, they'll serve the people who don't quite feel comfortable with technology.
Great, thank you.
Does the software system make enchiladas?
Mayor Rael, I said it's very customizable. I don't think it's that customizable.
Trustee Rena.
What is the term of the contract?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Rhino, what you're authorizing tonight is for the mayor to enter into those negotiations. So we do not have a draft contract at this time, but we get to decide what that says.
What I would just suggest is that there would be, that it would be reviewed, potentially annually or every 2 years at least, in order to ensure that that it's progressing and that we are satisfied with the work.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Rhino, thank you for that input. It is definitely in the village's best interest to have contract terms that serve us, and so noted.
I have a couple questions. Sure. How do we stay in control of our data if in fact we did a review and things weren't going great, we've had them for 2 years, and we switch? How are we in control of that data and we're not kind of extorted into having to stay with them because we're like, oh, well, we can't really get that? And
Mayor Rael, Trustee Edward, I actually don't have an answer to that question, but I can reach out to the folks at Granicus to ask if we were to cut ties with them as a company, what is the export process for us to retain all the data that we've let them control for the last whatever number of years? I can follow up with you over email about that.
even if they went financially under, how are we going to be notified, and how do we retain ownership of that data in terms of is it backed up, is it not backed up? Do we have to contact them to get it, or do we have some sort of a way of going to it? And then the other question I have is, And I think it's just a fair question, and I'd ask it anywhere. It's like, is anybody here related to somebody who's in the ownership, and that affect the decision-making process? No offense, of course, to you and your integrities there, but.
Sure, Mayor Royale, Trustee Edward. I have no personal, professional, or fiscal relation to Granicus as a company. I can't speak for, anyone else sitting here, but that's me.
And did we check that?
Mayor Royale, Trustee Edward, did we check for conflict of interest?
Yeah.
I don't believe our RFP process has a conflict of interest kind of form in that way. We certainly have a political disclosure form that talks about political donations and dealing with political campaigns, but I don't think that exists for the staff or elected official level, but I'll defer to Danielle.
Mayor and trustees, offhand, I can't think of that either, but we do have the evaluation committee sign a confidentiality agreement in addition that they have no ties to any of the offerers that are submitting proposals.
All right. All right, it's a fair question, though, and a good question. Trustee Ball.
I don't know if squee is a technical term, but I'm so freaking excited about this. Having spent, the years on planning and zoning and just praying there was not something that went up in flames or got wet and destroyed years worth of documents. So this is great. I am familiar with Granicus as an entity. They have a good reputation, a solid reputation, a consistent reputation. And I agree that they are known for having a broad suite of information and platform. My question is, with the updates that are going on with the website and the opportunity to have a lot of this online, is there an element that is public facing to the information? So if somebody wanted to look up, is there, a violation on this property, or is there something that is currently, been granted in terms of a variance? Is that something that would be public facing, or would that still be staff only?
Mayor Royale, Trustee Baldwin, the platform has the ability to be as public facing as we want it to be. We could have a map on the website that will show every application that someone has submitted for the last 10 years. We can narrow that down to only within the vicinity of which you live. There will be a lot of flexibility to decide how we can be transparent with folks about what's going on in the village from a development perspective, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Trustee.
what, just a point to maybe help to, Shanna, to Trustee Edwards' comments, state purchasing contracts. I think they're what's the word I'm trying to, their templates have the language that probably looking for of the ownership of data. I see it a lot in their contracts.
Mayor Royale, Trustee Kiefer, I will make sure that that's addressed in the contract.
All right, well, any other questions on this matter? Okay, so we need a motion to approve the award of the contract.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve and award planning and permitting software RFP 2026-03 PP and authorize Mayor Royale to enter into a contract with Granicus LLC.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the award signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. Madam Clerk, I will ask you to do something because I do think Trustee Edwards brought up a good point that I liked. I think we've talked about it before. In our future agendas, I'd like to have a section, at least after we call the roll and before the pledge, where we would just ask the question, are there any conflict of interest to be reported as to the agenda items on the agenda for all of us collectively as decision makers? I've been now on several boards where that now has been incorporated, and maybe I could ask Mr. Chappell what your general sense of that is, or do you think that that's going beyond what we need to do?
Mayor, I think that is standard procedure if you have a quasi-judicial hearing, and it is in the, I think in the agenda where that statement is made.
Okay.
It's made at the Planning and Zoning Commission level by each individual commissioner being asked if they've had a ex parte conversation or if they have any conflicts of interest.
Sure.
But that's critical, I think, primarily in the quasi-judicial hearings, and I think would be appropriate for that question to be asked before the beginning of each quasi-judicial hearing, and not necessarily as to everything on the agenda would be my thought, because in the legislative process, people do have an interest in things and have experience in things, and so what constitutes a conflict in that is a different story. To give a blanket statement, I have no conflicts with anything on the agenda.
All right, well, let's talk about that more, because I do think that Trustee Edwards does make a good point. I'm on several other boards, and we do have a provision in our agendas that, at least for the matters before the board at that particular meeting, are there anyone that has a conflict? Mostly to address the kind of issue you were alluding to in your question. But let's look at that, because I want to make sure that it's a small town. We need to make sure that folks feel comfortable that we're not getting ourselves in a different place. Having said that, let's move on to the next resolution, item C, resolution number 2026-06-01, a resolution approving a purchase contract with Kim Hooker and John Hooker in the village of Los Ranchos. John and Mr. Chappell, maybe we'll refer to you, Mr. Chappell, since you did the process for this.
Yes, Mayor, I think I've been asked to address this one in Maria's absence. This is one of the acquisitions agreement on this one from a legal perspective. I checked the appraisal to assure that the appraisal checked out and that the fair value statements were made in accordance with the state requirement. And I have reviewed all of the closing statements. It's ready to close at this point. Reviewed the title commitment, approved the title, and approved the various documents to be signed, including the deed that is to be transferred to the village. And so I think from a procedural and a legal review process, it has passed all of the tests that we typically do. And as the information provided is that this is from the $1 million approval for rights-of-way acquisition that's already been budgeted for this purpose.
Okay. Any questions from any of the trustees on this issue? Seeing none, this is a resolution. We need a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-06-01.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll go ahead, Trustee Edward.
I just noticed it was for underground water storage, you know?
All right, we'll move on to Madam Clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustee Baldwin.
Aye.
Trustee Edward.
Aye.
Trustee Kiefer.
Yes.
Trustee Reinell.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Very good. Now we'll move to item D, resolution 2026-06-02. A resolution approving the purchase contract with the Mid-Region Council of Governments successor to Region 3 Housing Authority, New Mexico, Inc., in the village of Los Ranchos. Again, Mr. Chappell.
Yeah, Mayor and trustees, a similar process than on the last one. This is a small piece of ground that is next to the roadway and in front of their project here on 4th Street. I've gone through the same process on this one in terms of approval of the purchase agreement and confirmation of the appraisal and the fair value. At this point, I have not seen or have not been able to, it's not ready to have closing documents, so I've not reviewed those, but the process is I would get the title commitment, look at that and approve the title to the property or raise any questions. We have had questions on some that have been resolved, and approve the form of the deed. But up to this point, the purchase has gone through the proper processes, and as the values have been approved by the Department of Transportation for use of the funds.
All right, do we have any questions on this matter? If not, we need a motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2026-06-02 for a purchase contract with the Mid-Region Council of Governments
Do we have a second?
in the Village of Los Angeles.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, to call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustee Baldwin?
Aye.
Trustee Edward?
Aye.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Rhino?
Aye.
All right, item E, approval to extend the MOU between the Village of Los Ranchos and the Los Ranchos Economic Development for an additional 18 months. Mr. Avila.
Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, we started this process to create a Main Street organization for the village to help in economic development. In doing that, excuse me, a nonprofit, which is the local economic development branch for the village, and in this it's referred to as LRED, is the organization, excuse me, again, that is doing the projects to get us designation as a Main Street program. And we've contracted or have come into agreement for that process. It's going to take another 18 months on the outside. It may be a lot faster than that because of the progress that's already happened. So it's on the outside that we want to make sure we have the time to do it. And so for that purpose, this is what the agreement before you is. We support it with also having an economic, the Director for Economic Development also assigned to this, and we're contracting that for the village, and that's included in this agreement.
All right, any questions on this matter? Trustee Kiefer?
Mayor, thank you. I don't have any questions. I think the Albert has been great. There's a lot of momentum that is picking up with the board and with Magda as the executive director. The one thing I would ask maybe this board to consider is a longer extension than 18 months. And the reason I ask that is 18 months puts it right at the end of 3 of our terms.
At the end of what, excuse me?
The end of the 3 of our terms. So the mayor, Frank's, and my term.
We may forever.
Right? No, no.
I meant just today.
And so I think, that doesn't mean that none of us are running again, doesn't mean that we'll get elected again, doesn't mean, we don't know what the future holds. And I'd like to see this at least go maybe 24 months for a transition of at least 6 months into a new administration for the new administration and you all to figure out what happens with the program. Rather than it end on December 31st being, the 18 months and come January 1st, there's 3 new people sitting here and it may be a priority for the 2 of you and not a priority for the 3 new people. And it puts you in a difficult position. So I would ask that we consider a 24 months or 20 months or at least a bridge to bridge that transition. Or the latter would be shorten it and do, 14 months. So then that way a 1 year can be done at that point and see where we are, later on. But I just think it needs to be carried through a potential new administration.
Sorry, I was thinking 2 things. John, I think that's a reasonable request. Let's just amend the contract to 24 months. We can do that administratively and just put it on the table just for that. That we'll amend it for 24 months, unless there's a concern by many of the trustees. I think that you raise a good point as it relates to the changing of the guard potentially, and or giving everybody flexibility, and also giving the them a little bit more of a comfort that, that they have some time to work with whomever might be in these positions to continue the work. Trustee Baldwin.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion? So we have a motion?
Sure, go ahead, let's make, well, the motion to approve the contract, we don't have, let's make that motion first,
Yes.
okay?
I move to approve an extension of the memorandum of understanding between the Village of Los Ranchos and Los Ranchos Economic Development for an additional 24 months.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, that's
Second.
fair. Okay. Any other questions, concerns? All right,
I think it's a good idea.
I think so too. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right, motion is approved. Thank you so much for doing that. Let's now go to the financial officer's report. Miss Ana Rodriguez has been sitting there very patiently. And Ana, I'm gonna step out for a second because,
It's 8 o'clock. We should
oh,
just take a
absolutely. Do you mind if we just take about a 3-minute break?
Of course, Mayor.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. We're gonna take a 5-minute break and we'll be right back.
You're very patient.
What if she would have said yes?
Bill.
Carry on. Did you take a look at the email and see if the June 25th will work for you at 10 a.m.?
It should, yeah.
Okay.
It should
I'll
work.
send out a final one tomorrow that we're all in agreement. I think everybody has that day open. I just need to
Okay.
confirm how
Sure.
I
Well,
opened that. And
we
then
can do
we'll
it.
have that Main Street group come in.
Okay, good, good.
Really?
Now, the only thing that I would say is, I mean, I can just go, no matter what, if I hit this, see this. So if you later, if it's not playing, you'll know why, because it's at 0. Okay.
But I never do that.
Other than
I'm
for the
having these frustrations where suddenly I'm like doing feedback.
Yeah. So of course, if you go here, and then you're going to, am I, is it, are you pulling up
So
from?
I go to there, I try to keep a page and I like a
So there's 2 different ways to fix it, is what you're saying?
and then I go to meetings and I'm just opening the packet application.
Do we have the power to do that?
Does this regular trustees meeting?
Yeah.
Seemingly I can get, so this one is doing watch now, but I don't want to watch it. So
Click it.
I just use this to a packet.
Oh, yeah.
Because I break the flows of it, it suddenly turned on this feature.
So write it, yeah, it's because this is embedded in YouTube, and so media.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Because this is where public is going to ship you this stuff, right? So the only other time, the other way I would suggest you do that packet is through the
So we need to have our representatives.
So do it that way.
If you go through the email, it's gonna just bring up the PDF.
All right, I'll do it.
Here,
Danielle, what do I rate more
like,
candy?
again, if I click,
You, Ray Franks.
it does that.
Ray Franks?
Speaker icon.
Yeah.
Immediately said. So the email would be directly to PDF. If you do the website, it's for the public and
Told you I was gonna eat all the chocolate, plus more chocolate.
Do you want me to toss more your way?
Hey, if you're not gonna eat it, I won't be shy.
There's like a bunch of stuff I don't touch.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? These ones?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're like some of my favorite. My stomach's like, stop. My taste buds are like, please, give me more.
And I made the mistake of going to the ladies' room when there was still a chocolate pie and a carrot cake on the table. And when I came back, there was only the chocolate pie. And my stomach has been chatting with me ever since. It's like,
are you not a chocolate?
I like it, but it just, my body doesn't process it as well. And so, you know, carrot cake, I can plow through that quickly. But
Gotcha.
yeah, the chocolate was just, woo!
Oh, man.
But, you know, it was fun. I got home with enough time to have a real dinner and detox a little before coming here.
Yeah, no, I've been living on sodas and chocolate since.
So the was it June 29th meeting? Is that something that we can attend?
I believe.
I mean, obviously with proper notice if there's a quorum, blah, blah, blah.
I think what they're gonna do is, yes, they're only announcing it to business owners. I'm sure, but with word of mouth, it's gonna spread onto. So one of the things they're gonna do to control like who makes opinions or who states stuff is what business you own.
Yeah.
In the village.
Makes sense.
But I mean, the more people that can hear, the better.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting stuff. And getting more people engaged is a good thing. So, yay.
You did great, by the way, at the event on Saturday.
Oh, thank you.
You really did.
Yeah.
All right.
I felt like I was like talking forever.
No, you did very, very well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness gracious. I gotta tell you guys, I was in California for 3 days and the weather was just like,
Nice.
it was hot. But then in the evenings, it cools off pretty quickly.
Thanks for asking for that break.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I thought the same thing.
I leave Saturday.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be fun. All right, we're back in session.
Popcorn? What's up?
And we'll move on to item number 9, which is our Chief Financial Officer's report. Ms. Rodriguez.
Mr. Mayor and Board of Trustees, before you is the cash report for May 2026. The ending cash balance at May is approximately $15.5 million, which is an increase of over $500,000 for the month. Year-to-date excess revenue over expenditures is approximately $1.2 million. Below is one unusual expenditure relating to the purchase of a truck. I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Rodriguez? All right, we'll move on to Mr. Avila's report.
Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, a report here before you is from all the departments. I do want to point out that in this last fiscal month of this year, we're going through a lot of transactions that our Chief Financial Officer is helping us with in getting our 2 projects that, excuse me, have a end date of June 30th, which is the Del Norte Open Space Quality of Life Grant and Open Space Funds to get all those improvements done there and get those transacted in time. And then also our EV stations on 4th Street, get those done here in the next couple of weeks. So those have been critical time-wise, and they're coming along so that they'll be finished by the end of the month. Planning and zoning just took care of the other problem property this week, and we'll move from there. The next steps in a clean and lean resolution that was passed by the Board of Trustees. At the Agri Nature Center, as you can see, there's a number of classes. These weekends, summer hours are also conducive to bringing in more classes, more visitors, and expanding that program. So you'll see a lot of that from the Agri Nature Center. In Public Works, they're concentrating on safety and security, especially here at Harnett Park, Garcia Barn, and so that'll be happening now and into the next fiscal year. Public safety, you'll see the Bernalillo County Animal Control Quarterly Report that's been turned in, and you can see that the impact that they're making on the public safety and our situations with animals. Excuse me. They just let me announce this, that they will be there, the animal control from Bernalillo County, at our National Night Out, which is on August 4th. They'll have an adoption program at that. So again, support from our partners in the village. And in the project management, they're finishing up property closings that you have just seen before the board to get to the next step on the 4th Street projects. Stand for questions.
Any questions of Mr. Avila? All right, go ahead, Trustee Ra.
I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, I had a, let's see, where was it? I had a couple of questions, John. And one of them had to deal with the Miller's property. Okay, I've seen a lot of work going on there, and wonderful picture, by the way. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess I should have brought up the issue earlier. Do we have enough funding in order to complete it so that we're able to start using it as, and we're not quite sure yet about what the facility is going to be, but is there enough already in the budget for us, given what we've already received, in order to complete the project?
Yeah, let me sort of address that a bit. So obviously the photo and the work that's been done to the barn itself, we have some funding available to continue to do. There's one more door that needs to be restored, and some of the windows, they have shutters. And so we're gonna put actual windows in there and then just use the shutters to keep it safe, right? But the idea on that particular facility is to make it available for the community, for community use. And that photo you saw, which I was pretty excited about, is because we've just basically, I mean, you'd be surprised how different it looks inside now that they've done all that work. And now we can use it for community events like an arts market or other adoption programs. I mean, it's just gonna be a nice community facility available. What we're gonna do is basically clean up the entire parking lot, if you will, and just make it so that we can get in, so we can have events there if we want to. The big issue and the big sort of long pole in the tent is the access road that we're pretty close to finishing up with all of the paperwork for the easements that we got that Bill helped us put together with Ms. Nolasco and the family. And we're gonna be moving on to fixing the fence, moving the fence, and putting in the roadway that'll give us a safe entrance and exit into the property. Sure. And so, but I am gonna just let you all know that we are going to make a presentation to you all in July about an idea that we have been talking about administratively and bringing it to you all for your thoughts about creating some more facilities for youth activities and potentially putting in maybe a couple of pickleball courts there, some basketball courts there, and really using that part of that area to create a youth/community facility area, and getting that sort of presentation to you all and then to the community to have more discussion about that. So to answer your question more succinctly, yes, we'll be able to use that barn, and we'll be able to use that parking lot for some events, but the bigger scope would be is to make it into a community center space.
Yeah, and the two smaller buildings on the property again, I know, I've seen the outside of them, and yeah. I know one of them is being used for office space right now.
Right. And those two, yeah, the Miller feed itself, where the store was, is now utilized by Maria as the 4th Street project sort of operation. And then we also have space there that Magda uses for the Main Street. We're getting some furniture in for that area, so that way they have some cubicles, if you will, inside that room, plus a conference room for community meetings.
Sure, okay.
The two outlier buildings that are to the north of that, or they're not quite attached to it, but right next to it, adjacent, those two buildings are near and dear to John's heart for some reason. He wouldn't let me touch them. I thought about doing some things, but they're all old adobes. And I say that nicely because John tells me all the time, look, there's not that many old adobes around. So the facility itself, those facilities need some work. They need everything from a floor to electricity to all kinds of things. And so those will be other investments. At a minimum, we will use those to store some things that we need to have some storage space. And then as we get them refurbished, obviously, they can be utilized for a number of things, to include maybe having a place for the Boy Scouts to put their stuff, et cetera. So, but I'm really pretty excited about that area, just simply because I think it does add some another, if you will, dynamic to the village and to the recreation portion of it. Okay. All right. Any other questions on Mr. Avila's report? Okay. We're going to now go to the trustees, and we'll start with Trustee Edward. How's that? Edward? Yes, sir.
Hello, how is everybody? Thank you very much, Mayor. I want to thank the mayor and fellow trustees and staff. I've had a great experience working up here, and I'd like it to continue, and I just want to thank you guys for everything. It's been really nice, and appreciate your patience with me. But a couple of things I'd like to talk about. Number one, I think I brought up before, and I'm going to say it again. I'd like this section of the meeting to somehow be closer to the front of the meeting, because I think our words get lost. And I think that the community doesn't stick around to the end of the meeting, and they think that we're tone deaf as to what their concerns are, and they don't hear what we're trying to do for them. And I want them to hear our ideas, because we have a lot of really good citizens with good ideas. And I don't come up here and say these because they're mine. Oftentimes they're other people's. One thing I'd like us to do as a community is, I think our standards are way too low. When I hear about the problem properties we have, when I hear about the community problems that are happening over on these streets, our standard of care is to the point where it's too late. Other states and communities don't have problems like this because they have a higher standard of care. And they take care of the problem because they don't want it to get to the state that we face all the time, when it's too late and it's already done so much damage. And these people, you can hear it in their voice, man, they're thinking of moving, leaving, taking away their energy that our community needs. This stuff shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't become slaves to people who are breaking the law and putting our lives at risk. There's got to be ways, and great guys like Bill Chappell and our new attorney are going to put their heads together and figure out what we need to do to improve our laws, to give the law enforcement officials who work their tails off meaningful teeth and time and action to get something done. I really want to hope that we can get that law changed, that one sentence in legislation, and have the legislators carry the torch. And Mayor, if you can get in the ear of our legislators to get that done, that would be incredible. One of the things I'd like to see, and we don't see, and again, this is, I don't want our community to be disjointed. I want us to be closer. I would like to be a standing invitation that goes out to each one of the school principals and vice principals to come in once a quarter to tell us what's going on. We have no idea. They constitute the largest employment in the entire village. They employ more than anybody. They have more impact on our youth. We don't know what the youth is doing. The Boy Scout, that was the first person who deals with youth in our community to come and speak in front of this body in a year. And I think that we need to have them come up here, and we should be able to ask them good, tough questions. It's hard to talk to the superintendent because everybody wants to talk to the superintendent. But here's a way that these schools can show themselves off, talk about the good they're doing, and we should be their mouthpiece. And these schools would be better attended and well cared for if we know the good things they're doing, but then also press them on the things that they're not. And I talked with Shannon one time about this, and This is a fine gentleman, I cannot think of his name, who spoke earlier on the Zoom.
Oh, and Tom.
Yeah, he brings up something, you know, people ask me, why aren't there more restaurants on 4th Street? Why aren't there more places to go eat? I find out it takes 2 years, even if you're gonna do a teeny tiny, maybe under a $5,000 renovation or change to a building to get it approved, right?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Edward, because of our cross-jurisdictional nature with Bernalillo County, a lot of the holdup is with the county and not with us. There are problems in our zoning checks when it comes to changing businesses on 4th Street and doing a new use, but that should not ever be more than 3 or 4 months on our end, which is still too long. But a lot of the environmental health and food safety stuff, that's all Bernco.
Well, if there's a way that we can compress that, I don't like another municipality who doesn't really care about our success slowing us down. And if we can outsource that on a contract basis to somebody and they drive it through, I don't know. No business sits around for 2 years on Wall Street or on Main Street or on down the road. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, let me say on 2 things before I forget. One is your point on the schools. I asked Danielle about a month ago, to contact the schools and ask them to come before the end of school to make a presentation about how things went, how things are going, and to get to the kind of questions you're thinking they would, or information they would disseminate to all of us. And we had one school lined up, and then at the last minute, we were informed that that they couldn't come anymore to our trustee meetings unless we made a formal request to the superintendent to get them to come talk to us. So I have reached out to the superintendent to have that conversation. I find that highly offensive, and I'm gonna say that in a public way because these are our schools in our community, helping our children and the children around the area that come to the schools, and they should have the opportunity to come and talk to their elected officials in the community they live in. And so I'm just going to tell you that we have reached out and we will continue to do so and work on that issue. On this other issue related to what was it? Your last comment was on.
Was it on the restaurant?
Yeah, on the restaurant and those sort of issues. I do think that there is a conversation that we all should have, and it doesn't have to be this evening, but just be thinking about it. The village for years has contracted out certain services to other jurisdictions, probably under the financial sort of constraints that the village had faced in years as it was maturing into a community, where we obviously used Bernalillo County to do a lot of that work. Fire and police being the more sort of visible one for most everyone, and now animal control, which, I think from a practical standpoint, those seem to be reasonable. I do think that we ought to be thinking about whether our building inspections and whether our permitting processes, whether or not we should have a conversation about whether we might want to think about bringing those in-house.
Yeah.
Those are going to obviously cost us money, but it does go to the point you made that when we have others dictating how we operate, and when we're all trying to create our own path, sometimes sometimes you need a good guide, but sometimes you just gotta go and do it. And so I guess what I'm saying to you is that I think we ought to have that conversation. I was just literally thinking about that today because Shannon and I were talking about a couple of other things where we rely on the county. And look, I will say the county does a great service for us on the whole. So this is not about them not doing a great job in many areas, but there are some areas where our priorities are not necessarily in line with theirs just because of the size of the population that they serve here, right? And we do have good relationships, but I do think that some of these permitting areas that we use the county for, we ought to think about bringing them in-house and having that conversation, especially now as we look at the budget and see if we need to maybe invest in that piece of it.
We might create more business that X pays for itself, you know?
Sure, sure. So anyway, I just wanted to point to those two issues because I've had the same thought. I think ever since you and I had unfortunately, what is it? Frito pie at the Lavender Cafe that unfortunately is closing their
You mean you ate
doors.
too much?
Yeah, we probably ate more than we should have. But anyway, I'll go now to Trustee Reina.
Okay. Let me also kind of confirm something that the mayor's talked about and that John had brought up in my discussions with the various principals in the schools.
Right.
They're really very uninformed about what's going on around them.
Yeah.
They really are. And a lot of that is controlled by the central administration, unfortunately. And because I had asked some questions about construction, some questions regarding student populations, et cetera, and they would tell me, well, you should talk to whomever in central administration. Okay, so I think that's problematic, certainly, and they don't have the information that really they need for us to even ask some specific questions about what's going on with their schools and their facilities and all. I've had some luck with the folks at the middle school, and just in terms of controlling what's going on with students walking along Guadalupe Trail. But for the most part, though, they just don't have the information. And that's something that I'm kind of talking with our representative about, and Rebecca is very open to talking about it and to try to figure out a way that we can get them some the information that they need and that we need. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I think it needs a longer discussion, is the relationship that we have with the community farm. Because they use our facility, the Ag Center, for all sorts of workshops and events. And we get a rental fee, and that's it. At this point, okay? And the value that the Ag Center brings to the community is worth a lot more than that, and should really, provide a source of income for the village. So I don't know exactly what the contracts look like, but over the summer they're busy. They're busy for many of the months of the year, and they depend on the Ag Center in order to provide those kinds of services. The other thing that I just wanted to just bring up, and again, it goes back to something, John, you had said at the very beginning, and the information that we received tonight about what's going on in the Elwood area. I think we need to be a lot more assertive in terms of how we are going to handle that. I've got to give certainly Teresa Real a lot of credit for keeping the safety committee going. I think it would be helpful if that safety committee were a standing committee. In that we had an opportunity then to get reports on a regular basis about what's going on. But from our part, as members of the board, I think that we need to take a look at the ordinances that we have and try to upgrade them so that we have some more teeth in them. I was talking with with a colleague of mine who's a counselor out in Corrales, who Gwen knows quite well too. And he basically said, you know, we're not having problems with that anymore, because their ordinance are such where they allow their police force to go in and remove them. Now, I don't know how that actually works. I don't know what their legal basis is for doing that. But certainly it's something to explore. Sure. You know, and because again, I'm just seeing a lot more of it as I drive along the village. And I saw another kind of encampment on the walking trail next to Paseo. And they saw me and I saw them, and they picked up their stuff and they walked on. Okay. But I think we need to be able to have a better control over it. So I'll let it go with that.
Good comments. Good. Trustee Kiefer, you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you, Mayor. So just a few things. You kind of alluded to this, Mayor, but I don't know how many people were paying attention. But I was saddened to learn that Lavender Costanita is leaving the village, or closing.
Right. What?
The end of this month.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Yeah.
It was in the newspaper today. And so it kind of goes back to, you know, what Magda and I have been working on from a Main Street of how to attract and retain these businesses. And so then again, how do we fast track? But, you know, I'm kind of starting to think too, is there anything we could have done had LIDA funds already been in place, right? Had we already had something to be able to help businesses? You know, it's sad because it has drawn people here, and they had really good food. Also, to the point of one of the things that we've talked about during the economic development meetings is the heartache and the headache of permitting, specifically on change of use. And it isn't with the village, to your point, Shanna, it is with the county. And all the steps that the county, so I really like your idea, Mayor, of seeing what services maybe we could bring back in-house. Exciting though, we did at least get it's not in the village, but I'm excited with the Ace Hardware.
Yeah.
Ace Smiths, already have frequented it multiple times. Just because if I don't have to go to Home Depot, I don't want to. So that's been nice. I just hope it lasts and sticks around. And the renovations they're doing to Smiths. So that's been really refreshing to see that effort is taking place. And then, I'm sorry I can't get off this soapbox, and I have a lot of people that still email me all the time. The cottonwood tree. They keep saying we're watering it, and I think I don't want to say, I think the project manager is under the impression that the people he's telling to water it are watering it, but I don't think it's actually happening. That tree is turning gold. The leaves are starting to really wither. As a matter of fact, one of the neighbors across the street did 3 hoses and watered out of their own faucet. And they're, you know, they let me know, hey, I did it. I'm scared to see my water bill. But if the village isn't gonna do anything to protect this tree, we're gonna do it. And so I know a lot of it is outside of the fence. So my question is two questions, I guess. What can we do? Because if a lot of it's in public easement, can we start just standing in the street and spraying water over there? And second, this was a conservation project. It was done based on the guise of we are going to conserve these acres and this tree. Can we put a stop work permit or order until they comply with their responsibility of preserving conservation.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, I had a conversation with Trace, the project manager, today about the tree. He, again, is assuring me that his contractor is watering the tree. So he's saying residents are saying they're not. I'm not sure what we do with that he said, she said game. What Trace also offered was that he recently bought his own 150-gallon bladder for his truck. He is on site multiple times a week, and that he's personally going to water the tree in addition to what his contractor has been directed, and that he assures me has been doing. So I think now we'll have two parties watering the tree. In addition to that, the mayor had a great idea that I floated by the project manager, and he was amenable to it. They're going to install some kind of ring or barrier around the watering area for the tree to better delineate where that water is, where it goes, where it's been watered, to offer the community some kind of assurance that the tree is being watered. We feel confident that that kind of visual separation might help keep water within the space and better visually delineate what's been watered and what hasn't. I can't speak to the questions on what can the village do to water a tree on private property, or if a stop work order would be appropriate. The conservation development is really related to the acreage that they are not allowed to build on. That is the part that's being conserved. That's my update as of about 4:50 today, when Trace let me know the new kind of plan for watering the tree.
So I think one of the things, Trustee Keeper, because I got some same calls you've been getting, and so let's put basically a ring around the tree, and I'm going to just visit with the developer, and if nothing else, John doesn't know this yet, but we're going to find a way to get that tree watered if we have to do it ourselves. And there's a fire hydrant not too far from there. Maybe we just visit with Greg and see if we can't get the fire department to get us a hose, and we'll figure out how to get some water to that tree.
We can practice on it.
Absolutely. So I'm with you. Yeah, it's a symbolic issue for me more than anything else, but it's practical as well. And that is that this is a conservation area, and the, if you will, the pinnacle of the conservation piece is the tree. And if that goes away, it's not a good thing for us as a community. So.
And my understanding, Shanna, I think in one of the emails that, thank you, Mayor, that you sent me was they were planning to have the irrigation, I thought, started now in June anyway. Where are they with even getting the irrigation going, or is it ready and we just have no water?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, I'll get an update from the project manager on that. He did say by the end of June, and so we're getting pretty close to that. I will find out.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. All right, Trustee Baldwin.
She's got a long list.
We only have 30 seconds.
So, I mean, I think there's really great and strong agreement on a number of comments that have happened by prior trustees this evening. It is incredibly frustrating that the staff, the community impact officer, and the principal were prepared to come, at least from Los Ranchos. I was familiar with that because of the work I've been doing with the garden. And they were told, no, you haven't gone through the proper, procedures. And it's like, again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for leaning in on that one. It's very frustrating. The tree was specifically called out as a part of the conservation acreage, that it was going to be preserved, that it was going to have view, that it was going to be protected, and could not agree more that we need to have that, we need to deliver on that one way or another. What I have seen is trucks go by, spray trucks to keep dust down, and they kind of go near the tree. That is not watering. Very great, very strong turnout at MRGCD's Burnco Community Users Meeting back on June 4th. A lot of information about how they distribute water in scarce times, but also things that can be done that we can all do involving particularly efficient delivery of compact water via the low flow channel. And they've received some funding for that. targeted efficiency through pipes, lined ditches and maintained ditches, reducing illegal water use, really thinning out the busky and making salt cedar, and other invasives go away because they're both a water suck and a huge fire risk. Those things were really exciting. And we also heard concerns from community members about glyphosates in that process and how that can be reduced or eliminated and protected. But the thing I really wanted to discuss tonight is I'm working with Director Schultz, and this is very timely to conversations we've had tonight. I'm working with Director Schultz and getting feedback from businesses on 4th on a limited duration local business program to address some of the specific administrative processes, regulatory and cost barriers that have kept some businesses from making modest improvements to ensure long-term viability or to expand what they offer our community. Currently, even simple changes to a building in the commercial zones triggers requirements on 4th, triggers requirements that are cost prohibitive and beyond what's needed to ensure quality permitted work. This actually, I think, works really hand in glove with the LEADER program, which deals with money. This is about how we remove some of the processes that really make it difficult or end up requiring them to do things far beyond what they need to do. And so really this is about supporting 4th as the village's primary localist serving commercial corridor, encouraging reuse and occupancy, and providing a more predictable and efficient review process for eligible commercial changes of use while preserving appropriate village oversight. So this is something that I'm hoping we will be looking at in a soon to be coming up regular Board of Trustees meeting. Again, I'm sort of floating this with various businesses. I wanted to make sure I could let my fellow trustees know, and the best way to do that is an open session, so that's why I'm bringing it here tonight. I also made really clear what this isn't going to be doing. So we're looking at sort of a 5-year program to see what works, to see what really helps moving things along, what really shortens the time frame. But this is not going to, it's about modest improvements. So full site developments or redevelopments would not be a part of this program. There will be no waiver or change in requirements. Building codes, fire codes, height regulations, sidewalks, drainage or floodplains, utility requirements, county permitting, conditional use, special approvals, variances, all those would still have to go through the larger, more complete process. But if you're doing something very simple, putting a portal or awnings or changing maybe the configuration of your opening, should everything under the sun be triggered? Should everything under the sun require a full-blown drainage site plan utility? Probably not. And so that's what I'm hoping to bring in front of everybody soon. And I wish I could have lots of conversations with you beforehand, but unfortunately the Open Meetings Act says I cannot until I'm in open public meeting.
Good ideas. All right, very good. All right, so let me just wrap up by we're at the halfway point of the year, closing on the fiscal year, starting July 1. I think the conversation in ICIP today was really good. And I think it really helps us gauge our work in the next 6 months as the legislature and new governor take office, prioritizing where we want to make some investments, et cetera. I will say to all of you, the one issue that I'm getting more and more, aside from the issue that was raised today, which is incredibly important as it relates to the Edgewood area and 2nd Street in Osuna, also happens to be on the traffic on Rio Grande Boulevard. Last night, I was coming in from the airport, and sure enough, as I drive down Rio Grande Boulevard, there's one of our finest officers that pulled over a couple of people. Not just one car, but 2 cars. Good. On Rio Grande. But I am getting a lot of concern from folks about speeding on Rio Grande. So in July, we will have an update from Parametrics on the safety and design study that they're doing for us on Rio Grande, and some of the ideas that have come up. And so we'll have that conversation, but it is the summer months. The summer months, we have a lot of young kids driving along and more traffic. And so we're seeing a lot of that, obviously in the corridor. And so the one thing I will say about the Edgewood Park area and the homes there is the jurisdictional boundaries of the village versus the county are right there. And it's going to take some work. I'm meeting with the county manager, as a matter of fact, either the day after, Thursday evening. And I'm going to bring this up because I need the county's support on their piece. I think I drove by there a couple of last week because I'd heard about this particular house that they were referring to. I also saw and walked along the ditch bank and saw some of the concerns they have. Some of that is in the county. And so we're going to have to work together with the county to get a little more, if you will, support on that area. But that shouldn't be that shouldn't be the residents' problem. It's us as governments making sure we get things done. And so stay tuned on that one. I think we've got to do a full court press on that and clean that place up and then see how we continue to work with the county. I've been very frustrated, just to be candid, about our resident that sits on that intersection at Osuna. I think I've reminded the county at least 3 or 4 times a month for the last 6 or 7 months. We've got to do something better than that. That's our entrance to our village.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the welcome entrance, and so we've got to. So we're going to go in there, and I've told John, I've asked him 4 or 5 times. We're going to go in there and redo that median, even if it's not in our jurisdiction. We're just going to do it, and I'd rather ask for forgiveness than for permission because the permission is not coming fast enough.
Let me ask you a quick question. I can't remember. Do we control the 180 degrees of that intersection, or just like 90 degrees of that whole intersection?
We control none of that.
It's second?
Do we? How much do we control up to the intersection on the south side?
On the Osuna?
Yeah, I don't think we have much of any.
Osuna and 4th?
Osuna and second.
None of Osuna and Second is in the village.
Yeah.
Our village limits are about maybe 150 feet to the west of where that median ends.
Maybe we should annex it.
Well, that's crossed my mind as well. And so the challenge is in annexing it. Obviously, property owners may or may not want to, but what I don't want to annex is, I don't want to annex the county's infrastructure if it's their responsibility to fix it. But I do think we got to get aggressive with it. So,
but the catalyst is on the county property.
Right.
It bleeds over into ours.
Oh, totally.
We can't go over to their property to tell them what to do.
Yeah, no, that's right. And so we're going to work on this issue. But I just want you to know that I'm as frustrated as everybody is on that particular intersection and that whole area around that corridor. And they're right. There's more and more folks using that trail that was developed there, but they're jumping over into the residential areas where there's absentee landlords and basically camping in people's property. So we're gonna get some folks to look at this and see what we can do.
Mayor, would that also go? My apologies. Mayor, would that also bleed into maybe we need to look at landlord-tenant ordinances for the village of how we can police derelict properties?
I mean, I think we should look at all of the options that we have available and see what we can do within those areas. I think the real question becomes is how many of those properties are actually in the village and how many of them are actually in the county. But I think the first start is to bring this conversation to the attention of the county manager. And I also have a meeting, quite frankly, with our county commissioner as well, so that we can begin that conversation. But anyway, that being said, look, the last piece is we are about to get ready for the July festival that's happening at the Agri-Nature Center, and I think it'll be a good opportunity for the community to get out and see what's going on there. I think Aaron and the staff have done a great job and continue to do a good job of getting the place ready for use, et cetera, and some really good ideas coming along, et cetera. And so inviting folks to make sure that they get a chance to go see that on the 19th. So With that said, do we have any other business before us? If not, do we need a motion, Madam Chair? Madam Clerk? Nope. We are adjourned at
Thank you very much.
at 9:05. Thank you very much. Right before I think had a sunflower seed go down the wrong pipe.
Recording stopped.
Yeah, the rain.
It is incredible.
And go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. See Elvis Presley's cars.
Oh, really?
And then go to the Grand Ole Opry and do that one. And there's a couple of bars on Broadway.
Oh, I'm sure there's a few.
That I'm sure you're gonna find.
I'm gonna come back with a liver detox
They
necessary.
start the music at 6 in the morning. I mean,
Really?
bands going on.
Nice. Nice, I'm excited.
We had a great time, just walking it, okay? And you walk past one and walk past another, and live bands are going on.
Oh, how fun. That sounds like fun.
So we were gonna
We were gonna meet.
What's your life look like this week?